Shipwreck. Holding $1.1 billion treasure found after 363 years, but its secret left scientists stunned. In the heart of the vast ocean, where waves endlessly erase all traces of the past, lies a story both thrilling and tragic, one that humanity has spent centuries trying to unravel. A ship, a treasure, and a search that spanned more than half a lifetime. This is the journey of Nuestra Señora de Atocha, the ill-fated galleon that sank in the waters of the Florida Keys, taking with it a treasure worth over $1 billion into the cold, silent depths. The story begins on September 4, 1622, when the Tierra Firme treasure fleet set sail from the port of Havana, Cuba. On board were what could be called the heart of the Spanish Empire: silver from Bolivia, gold from Peru, emeralds from Colombia, and countless rare goods looted from across Spain's colonies in Latin America. Among the 20 ships that departed that day, Nuestra Señora de Atocha was tasked with guarding the rear, serving as a loyal watchdog. But fate was not kind. Just one day after leaving port, a massive hurricane tore through the Florida Straits. The wind howled, the sea raged, and 8 ships were swallowed whole. Atocha, weighed down with over 26 tons of silver, 180,000 silver coins, hundreds of gold bars, and thousands of pounds of jewelry, stood no chance against nature's fury. The ship, along with 265 souls aboard, vanished beneath the waves. Only a few sailors and enslaved people survived, clinging to floating wreckage. For the next 60 years, Spanish recovery teams attempted to retrieve the lost treasure, but the ocean does not give up its secrets easily. The wreck of the Atocha remained buried deep beneath the sands, seemingly mocking human ambition. It wasn't until 1969 that the course of history began to change, thanks to one man with unwavering passion and resilience. His name was Mel Fisher, a treasure diver from Florida. He wasn't a professional archaeologist, but he had something no one else did: absolute determination. Fisher embarked on a 16-year-long search, one that few believed would succeed. But in 1973, 3 gold bars were discovered on the ocean floor. These bars perfectly matched entries in Atocha's cargo manifest. A first clue, a flicker of light in the darkness. Then, after thousands of hours of diving and research, a miracle occurred in July 1985. Fisher and his team finally discovered the main hull of the ship, along with nearly the entire lost treasure. That moment felt as if time had stood still. Before their eyes lay about 70 pounds of Colombian emeralds, 180,000 silver coins, over 52,000 pounds of Bolivian silver, 125 gold bars, and a collection of pearls from Venezuela. Many artifacts were so perfectly preserved that it was hard to believe they had been underwater for more than 360 years. Today, much of the Atocha treasure is displayed at the Mel Fisher Maritime Museum in Key West, Florida, with additional pieces in New York. These artifacts hold not only immense material value, they are living witnesses to a bloody and controversial chapter in world history. Among the most remarkable treasures is the Atocha Cross, a masterpiece crafted from pure 24-karat gold, set with 9 dazzling Muzo emeralds. There's also the Royal Orb, a 22-karat gold sphere adorned with 37 Colombian emeralds, and the Atocha Ring, a simple yet exquisitely crafted piece featuring a 2.5-karat emerald. Astonishingly, despite centuries beneath the sea, these items remain nearly pristine. In part, this is due to the expert craftsmanship of the 17th century. But in a twist of irony, the ocean itself became the perfect natural vault. The story of the Atocha is more than a treasure hunt. It's a testament to persistence, to the spirit of discovery, and to believing in what seems impossible. And perhaps what makes Atocha truly special is this: it's not just a sunken ship, it's a symbol of the forgotten, waiting to be rediscovered from the depths of the sea. So what do you think? Do you believe that hidden in the deep ocean, there are still countless ships like Atocha, quietly guarding secrets that could reshape human history? I believe there are. After all, history has recorded countless ships that sank with vast treasures aboard. And more than that, the world has seen the discovery of many enormous, mysterious treasures. But what are these treasures? What secrets do they hold? Let's continue this journey together. Keep watching this video as we dive deeper into the stories behind history's greatest lost treasures. The $5 trillion treasure on the Awa Maru. It all began on a dark night in the open sea, when a luxurious ocean liner, once a symbol of Japan's maritime prowess, was suddenly sunk, taking with it more than 2,000 lives and possibly a treasure valued at $5 trillion. This is the tragedy of the Awa Maru, one of the greatest unresolved mysteries in both wartime and underwater archaeology. Awa Maru was not just a ship. It represented the pinnacle of Japanese shipbuilding technology between 1941 and 1943, constructed in Nagasaki, then the industrial heart of the Japanese Empire. Originally, the ship was built to serve civilians, transporting passengers along long-distance routes connecting major cities across Asia. But the fate of the Awa Maru took a dramatic turn with the outbreak of World War II. It was requisitioned by the military, eventually becoming part of Japan's desperate retreat strategy during the war's final months. On March 28, 1945, Awa Maru departed from Singapore on a special mission to repatriate thousands of Japanese nationals, civilians, diplomats, and military personnel back to their homeland before the end of the war. But what turned this voyage into legend wasn't just the ship's tragic end. It was the swirling rumors of a massive treasure said to be on board. Reports claim the cargo included tons of gold, diamonds, platinum, and other valuable assets with an estimated worth of up to $5 trillion. Yes, you heard that right, $5 trillion, a number that exceeds the GDP of many entire countries. But that treasure never reached Japan. On the night of April 1, 1945, while passing through the Taiwan Strait, under the designation of a protected humanitarian vessel with no weapons on board, a fateful incident occurred. The USS Queenfish, an American submarine, detected and torpedoed the Awa Maru. In mere seconds, the massive ship sank to the ocean floor, taking 2,004 lives with it. Only one survivor lived to tell the tale. And yet, the strangest part of the story is this: no one ever mentioned the treasure. Japan later demanded $52.5 million in compensation from the United States, but there was no official reference to any gold, diamonds, or high-value assets. So, was the treasure ever real? Or did someone already know the truth and quietly take it? By 1980, after years of speculation and pressure from historians and researchers, Taiwan launched a major salvage operation at the shipwreck site. Over 5 years, more than $100 million was poured into the search. But what was recovered? Only tin, rubber, and a few personal belongings from passengers. No gold, no diamonds, no treasure chests, no confirmation of a multi-trillion-dollar hoard. So, what happened? Why wasn't even a single gold coin found? One compelling theory comes from the U.S. National Security Agency, NSA. According to them, the massive treasure people spoke of was never actually aboard the Awa Maru at the time of its sinking. It may have been offloaded earlier in Thailand or secretly divided and hidden in locations still unknown today. That raises an avalanche of questions. If the treasure isn't underwater, where is it now? Who holds it? And did the sole survivor know more than he ever said? The treasure of the Flor de la Mar. A legendary treasure filled with pure gold, glittering gems, and royal artifacts once sailed the ocean aboard a mighty warship, crossing the seas in triumph before vanishing forever beneath the waves of the tropical sea. No one knows exactly where it lies. No one knows whether someone has already found it. And for over 500 years, it has remained there, like a haunting whisper from the past. This is the story of one of the most captivating maritime archaeological mysteries in the world. The lost treasure of the Flor de la Mar, the flower of the sea. Just hearing its name evokes a sense of poetry and allure. But don't be fooled by its beauty. Flor de la Mar was not a gentle vessel, but a full-fledged warship, built in Lisbon in 1502, at the height of the Portuguese maritime empire. With a displacement of about 400 tons, an impressive figure for the 16th century, it stood as a symbol of strength, ambition, and the insatiable greed that drove Europe's imperial powers to conquer the East. Commanding the ship was none other than Afonso de Albuquerque, a legendary naval commander whose bold military campaigns earned him a permanent place in history. He was not just a captain, but the embodiment of an empire expanding its reach across Asia's vital maritime trade routes. Then came the turning point in 1511. After successfully seizing Malacca, Then one of the most important trading hubs in Southeast Asia, the Portuguese collected an immense trove of treasure: gold, silver, pearls, and tribute from the Kingdom of Siam, modern-day Thailand. All of it was loaded onto the Flor de la Mar, with the mission of transporting this immense treasure back to Europe, a symbol of Portugal's maritime supremacy. But there's one universal rule in history: the greater the glory, the greater the risk. As a fleet of 5 ships began its return journey to Portugal, nature turned against them. A violent storm struck suddenly in the Strait of Malacca, a notoriously dangerous region with strong currents and unpredictable weather. Flor de la Mar, heavily loaded and not built to withstand the fierce tropical sea, broke apart and sank. While Albuquerque himself miraculously survived, the entire treasure, believed to be the largest ever transported by ship at the time, vanished without a trace beneath the ocean floor. Since that moment, the Flower of the Sea has become a living legend among treasure hunters, a mystery that has remained unsolved for centuries. So why can't the shipwreck be found? The answer is ironically simple. Navigational maps of the era were incredibly inaccurate. There was no GPS, no radar, only instinct, celestial navigation, and experience. The Strait of Malacca, today one of the busiest shipping routes in the world, may also be hiding one of the greatest treasures in maritime history. At this point, you might be asking, has anyone ever actually found the ship? Has anyone ever touched those gold bars? The truth is, no one knows for certain. Over the past 5 centuries, dozens, even hundreds, of expeditions have been launched. Divers, archaeologists, private companies, and even national navies have claimed to be close to the wreck site, but no one has definitively proven that they have found the Flor de la Mar. No official reports have confirmed the recovery of any artifacts directly linked to the ship. What makes this mystery even more fascinating is the belief that the treasure is still there, intact, buried beneath layers of mud and sea sand, somewhere beneath the modern ships that now sail daily through the Strait of Malacca. It could be lying just a few dozen feet below the surface, or it may have been swept away by the ever-shifting ocean currents. But one thing is certain: if discovered, the Flor de la Mar would be the greatest underwater archaeological find in human history. The massive treasure aboard the San Jose. Some undersea mysteries have captivated global attention for centuries. When a ship vanishes into cold waters, not only does it take lost sailors with it, but sometimes it carries a priceless hoard for humanity, both literally and metaphorically. Among them, no shipwreck is as coveted or as controversial in the archaeological field among governments or treasure hunters worldwide as the San Jose, the legendary galleon now lying silently beneath the Caribbean Sea off the coast of Colombia. San Jose, a name that might sound modest, but behind it lies a bloody, fierce, and bitterly disputed story. Its final voyage began like many others of its time, transporting a colossal treasure from the New World back to Europe to fund the costly succession wars embroiling the Spanish Empire. Yet San Jose never made it home. In June 1708, off the coast of Cartagena, one of Spain's strongest fortresses in the New World, the San Jose came under attack by British warships in a fierce naval battle. In the blink of an eye, the ship sank with an estimated 200 tons of gold, silver, and raw gemstones aboard, claiming nearly 600 crew members. Only a handful survived, and the treasure, valued at anywhere from a few billion to over $20 billion US, disappeared into legend. Can you imagine what lies beneath the Caribbean seabed? Chests lined with royal crests of gold, pure silver from the famed mines of Bolivia and Peru, uncut emeralds yet to be polished, all destined to strengthen the economy of Europe's most powerful empire at that time. Instead of reaching Madrid, the treasure was swallowed by ocean waves, forever turning into the most sought-after legend in world maritime history. But here's what makes this story more compelling. The dispute over San Jose's treasure has never ended. In 1982, a U.S. salvage company claimed to have found the wreck of San Jose, but Colombia, the nation's sovereign over the waters where the ship sank, disputed that claim, stating that it was only in 2015 that they located the actual resting place of the wreck. Matters grew even more complex when Spain asserted ownership, arguing that the ship remained Spanish state property despite over 300 years having passed. And did you know this? An indigenous tribe in Bolivia also filed a claim for a share of the treasure, stating that their ancestors were forced to mine the silver aboard San Jose, and therefore they are entitled to justice for their forebears. A ship, a treasure, and a conflict spanning legal, political, historical, and ethical realms, all centered around the San Jose shipwreck. So the question arises, can modern individuals or institutions truly lay claim to a treasure from another era? Colombian law is unmistakably clear. All underwater archaeological objects within national waters belong to the state and cannot be sold or divided. No matter how high its worth, be it billions or tens of billions, the treasure remains non-commercial Colombian heritage. It's ironic, isn't it? A massive treasure resting untouched on the ocean floor, its value known in staggering figures, yet any attempt to handle it is bound by complex legal rules, deep-seated disputes, and unresolved history. Still, from an archaeological perspective, the San Jose is an unopened time capsule. It is not only a material treasure, but a living historical archive, potentially revealing sea routes, war tactics, shipbuilding technology, and the lives of 18th century societies. In that sense, its true value surpasses mere billions of dollars. It's a part of humanity's collective memory. The gold-laden ship discovered beneath the desert sands. In 1533, the Bom Jesus, one of Portugal's most legendary ships, vanished along with its entire crew and massive treasure while en route to India. For nearly 500 years, it existed only in stories, legends, and unanswered questions in maritime history. But then, in a stunning twist, this centuries-old mystery was uncovered not beneath ocean waves, but in the unlikeliest of places, beneath the scorching sands of Namibia's desert. You might wonder, how could a sunken ship end up in the middle of an arid desert, hundreds of miles from the sea? The answer lies in the region's geological and climatic history. Centuries ago, what is now the Namib Desert was once a coastline constantly battered by fierce storms. One of these storms likely overwhelmed the Bom Jesus, and over time, desert sands slowly consumed the wreckage, burying it deep and preserving it for generations. Then, in April 2008, a miracle happened. A group of diamond miners from Namdeb Diamond Corporation stumbled upon strange anomalies beneath a thick layer of sand, fragments of wood and metal buried deep in the earth. Sensing the significance of the find, they contacted Dr. Dieter Noli, a renowned South African archaeologist who had devoted his career to unearthing historical mysteries hidden beneath the surface. Upon arriving at the site, Dr. Noli quickly realized they might have made one of the most important archaeological discoveries of the century. The days that followed were filled with anticipation. As pieces of the ship and artifacts began emerging, excitement grew. In just the first 45 minutes, archaeologists uncovered more than 24 pounds of gold coins, an extraordinary amount, with nearly all coins preserved in near-perfect condition. Can you imagine? Coins minted in the 16th century, buried under blistering desert sand for over 5 centuries, still gleaming with stunning clarity and detail. And the treasure didn't end there. As excavation continued, a more complete picture of the Bom Jesus's cargo began to form. Tons of copper ingots, bronze bowls, more than 50 prized elephant tusks, antique navigational compasses, long swords, astronomical tools, and cylindrical gun barrels believed to be over 500 years old were unearthed. Each artifact told its own story, offering insight into the lives of the crew and the dangerous voyage of this legendary vessel. In total, 5,438 valuable artifacts were recovered from the wreck site, including nearly 2,000 gold coins, a treasure far beyond anything historians had imagined. This wasn't just material evidence of a long-lost voyage. It was a priceless cultural and historical trove that deepened our understanding of trade, shipbuilding, and daily life in that era. Have you ever wondered what happened to the crew of the Bom Jesus? The fate of those sailors remains a mystery, but this incredible discovery has reignited global passion for archaeological exploration. Every item recovered is more than just evidence. It's a time portal that transports us back to an era of daring sea voyages and untold secrets. This find is a living testament to the power of history and archaeology, fields of study that not only uncover the past, but help us understand ourselves through stories told in objects long buried. The Bom Jesus may have been lost to the sea and desert for centuries, but its story now sails once more into the light of history. The 5 recent archaeological discoveries in China that shocked the world. 5,000-year-old giant human skeletons discovered in China. In July 2021, archaeologists announced the discovery of skeletons belonging to giant humans who lived between 4,500 and 5,000 years ago in Shandong Province, eastern China. This finding not only sparked curiosity about the height of these ancient people, but also raised a series of fascinating questions about their lives and civilization. Specifically, in an excavation site in Jiaojia village, researchers uncovered tombs containing the remains of men with astonishing height. One individual measured approximately 6 feet 3 inches tall, while several others stood around 5 feet 11 inches. These height estimates were based on the structure of their bones. According to Professor Fang Hui, head of the History and Culture Department at Shandong University, if the tallest man among the remains were alive today, he would likely have stood even taller than 6 feet 3 inches. Interestingly, these unusually tall individuals were buried in larger tombs compared to their shorter counterparts, suggesting they may have held higher social status and had greater access to abundant food sources. At that time, differences in height might reflect a stratified society in which individuals with better living conditions tended to grow taller. In addition to the giant skeletons, archaeologists also discovered valuable artifacts such as pottery and jade, especially in 6 of the tombs. These items, characteristic of the Neolithic civilization, reveal the prosperous and affluent life of the people who once lived there. What's even more intriguing is that Shandong Province, the site of this discovery, is also the birthplace of Confucius, China's most famous philosopher, who was believed to be around 6 feet 3 inches tall. Zhuge Liang, a legendary strategist in Chinese history who also hailed from this region, was described as being tall and imposing as well. This creates an interesting link between the historical giants and the cultural heritage of Shandong. Moreover, the people of Shandong are still known for their remarkable height. In 2015, the average height of men in Shandong was recorded at 5 feet 9 inches, higher than the national average of 5 feet 7¾ inches. This may partly reflect both genetic factors and lifestyle habits unique to the region. While the exact reason behind the extraordinary height of these ancient men remains a mystery, many scientists believe that the rich and varied food resources in the lower Yellow River Basin likely played a significant role in their development. Still, beyond the giant skeletons, the vibrant pottery and jade artifacts found in the tombs also speak to an advanced civilization marked by wealth and prosperity. This discovery is sure to continue attracting the attention of archaeologists and historians as they search for more clues to understand how ancient civilizations evolved, and perhaps in the future will uncover even more secrets surrounding these ancient giants, don't you think? A one-of-a-kind treasure found in a 2,500-year-old water tomb. In the late 1970s, Chinese archaeologists made a surprising discovery: an ancient tomb nearly 2,500 years old at the ancient city of Suizhou, the legendary homeland of Emperor Yan, Shennong, in Hubei Province, China. That year, during a mountain blasting operation by the Chinese military to build barracks in the Liguan area, unusual soil color and structure revealed traces of an ancient burial site. Experts rushed to the scene. The archaeological team had to remove nearly 50 massive stone slabs and a thick layer of peat to reach the tomb, which measured about 2,370 square feet, was 43 feet deep, and completely waterlogged. Initial analysis suggested the tomb belonged to Marquis Yi of Zheng, 475 to 433 BCE, also known as Ji Yi, ruler of the Zheng state, a vassal of the Zhou dynasty during the early Warring States period. The news shook the archaeological world and China as a whole for several reasons. First, discovering a royal tomb of this scale was a major archaeological breakthrough. Second, buried deep underground, the tomb held countless priceless artifacts, each one unique in Chinese history. As the tomb's owner, Marquis Yi of Zheng drew immense attention, despite very few historical records about him. His small kingdom of Zheng, forgotten for nearly 2,500 years, suddenly gained worldwide recognition. The discovery of Marquis Yi's tomb is considered one of the most significant archaeological finds in China. So, what extraordinary treasures lay within this ancient underwater tomb? The most stunning artifact was the world's heaviest wooden coffin, weighing over 7 tons, surrounded by the remains of 21 young women. After draining the water, the team worked tirelessly to clean the tomb, which was filled with over 68,000 pounds of peat. At the center, they found a massive and exquisitely crafted wooden coffin, still intact after thousands of years. Inside lay Marquise Yi of Zheng, who died at the age of 45. To date, it remains the heaviest ancient coffin ever discovered worldwide. Surrounding the central coffin were 21 smaller ones, all containing female skeletons aged between 13 and 24. Archaeologists believe these women were most likely dancers or attendants who served the Marquis during his life and were sacrificed to accompany him in the afterlife. The second major treasure is what experts have called a solitary treasure, an unreplicable technological marvel. After the discovery of the 7-ton coffin, thousands of artifacts were unearthed from the tomb. In total, about 15,404 relics of various materials and designs were uncovered, including over 6,200 bronze items. The most exceptional of the bronzeware was a drum stand, standing about 20 inches tall and weighing nearly 440 pounds. Modern Chinese artisans were stunned by the exquisite craftsmanship of this 2,500-year-old artifact. The stand was part of a drum ensemble, a crucial musical instrument in Zheng culture, consisting of the drum body, stand, and bass. The bass in particular was intricately designed and decorated. The tomb also contained numerous bronze dragon sculptures, including 16 large ones and dozens of smaller dragons. Despite being made of bronze, the dragons were lifelike and spiritually vivid, demonstrating extraordinary skill. The level of complexity and realism was so high that even modern experts cannot replicate them. All the dragons on the drum stand were intertwined, climbing upward in majestic poses, making it impossible to count them precisely. This is why the drum bass is considered a one-of-a-kind orphan treasure in the world. Another standout artifact showcasing ancient China's bronze casting mastery is the set of bronze bells of Marquise Yi of Zheng, the largest and most complete bronze bell ensemble ever discovered in China. In 2018, on the 40th anniversary of the tomb's discovery, the CPPCC Museum of Culture and History published an article by the director of the Hubei Provincial Archaeological Society detailing this rare musical find. The bell set was located in the western chamber of the tomb's central room and was arranged in 3 tiers. The top tier had 3 racks holding a total of 19 small bells. The middle tier, supported by 3 bronze warrior statues, held 33 medium-sized bells. Most remarkably, the bottom tier still held 13 large bells, some weighing over 220 pounds, with the largest reaching over 440 pounds and standing 5 feet tall, all supported by another set of bronze warrior statues. The entire frame weighed over 2.75 tons, and despite being nearly 2,500 years old, remained structurally sound thanks to ancient mortise and tenon joinery techniques. The intricate carvings and inscriptions on the bells amazed historians, while their melodious sounds proved nearly impossible to reproduce. This set is considered the pinnacle of bronze musical instruments from the Warring States period and is officially recognized as a national treasure of China. Besides thousands of bronze artifacts, the tomb also housed a large arsenal of ancient weapons. Over 4,000 arrowheads were excavated, more than any ancient tomb in China in recent decades. Other weapons such as swords, spears, halberds, and bows were also found. The discovery provides crucial insights into pre-Qin military history, ancient rituals, and bronze casting techniques. Artistically, the tomb contained exceptional examples of sculpture, modeling, painting, and engraving, some of which set the standard for generations of Chinese art to follow. The scale of the discovery is so vast that words alone cannot fully capture its magnitude. The nearly 3,000-year-old tomb of an ancient woman. In the Yanghai area, located in the Turpan Basin of China's Xinjiang Autonomous Region in the northwest, an important archaeological discovery was made when researchers excavated the nearly 3,000-year-old tomb of an ancient woman. Inside the tomb, archaeologists found not only her remains, but also a remarkably well-crafted saddle, shedding light on the region's role in the history of horseback riding in Central Asia. This discovery confirmed a key theory. that the Yanghai area and the Turpan Basin held strategic significance in the early development of horseback riding, particularly during the first 500 years of the first millennium BCE. In fact, the Yanghai saddle may represent the beginning of saddle-making history, incorporating design elements still found in modern saddles today. The saddle itself was meticulously constructed. Its padding was made of cowhide and filled with a mixture of deer and camel hair, which helped reduce stiffness and provided comfort for the rider. Radiocarbon dating places the saddle between 727 and 396 BCE, making it one of the earliest known innovations in equestrian equipment. Remarkably, the saddle was found placed directly beneath the woman's body, almost as if she were riding it, dressed in a leather coat, woolen trousers, and short leather boots. This further emphasizes the deep connection between horseback riding and daily life for the inhabitants of the region. In addition to the saddle, the tomb contained other objects such as a ceramic cup with a handle, fragments of woolen fabric, and remnants of clothing like a leather coat and short leather boots, though much of the apparel had deteriorated over the millennia. The exceptional preservation of these items provides archaeologists with a valuable glimpse into the material culture of the ancient people of Yanghai. Earlier studies have shown that around 3,300 years ago, people in the Altai Mountains began using horse milk, but the domestication and riding of horses in the southern region, where Yanghai is located, occurred later, around the 12th century BCE. In fact, in the Yanghai Cemetery, bridles were discovered in 19 tombs, dating from the 10th to the 3rd centuries BCE, reflecting the gradual rise of horseback use in daily life and warfare. The discovery of the Yanghai saddle is especially significant, not only as evidence of technological progress in saddle making, but also as a reflection of a shift in the mindset of riders. Before saddles were invented, people relied solely on bridles to control horses. But once the saddle was introduced, riders began to prioritize comfort, safety, and the well-being of both the rider and the horse. This marks a pivotal evolution in how horses were used, not just as tools for labor or war, but as vital means of transportation and partners in human progress. A 1,000-year-old ancient city lies beneath China's cleanest lake. Qiandao Lake, also known as Thousand Island Lake, is a famous scenic destination located in Zhejiang Province, China, about 80 miles southwest of downtown Hangzhou and approximately 87 miles from Mount Huangshan. Covering an area of about 379 square miles and boasting more than 1,000 islands of various sizes, Qiandao Lake is not only the largest man-made lake in China, but also one of the cleanest freshwater bodies in the world. The Chinese call it the most beautiful water under heaven, a poetic title backed by the astonishing fact that the lake's water quality meets drinkable standards, something extremely rare for lakes anywhere in the world. However, what truly fascinates archaeologists isn't just the lake's natural beauty. It's the secrets hidden beneath its crystal-clear surface. Few would guess that nestled among the lush green islands lie the remains of two submerged ancient cities, Xicheng, Lion City, and Hicheng, He City. These ruins, dating back thousands of years, were originally built during the Han and Tang dynasties and flourished during the Ming and Qing periods. In 1959, when China constructed the Xin'an River hydropower station, a massive dam caused water levels to rise, submerging both ancient cities under the lake and creating an underwater world lost to time. For decades, no one suspected that beneath the calm surface of the lake existed a forgotten ancient kingdom waiting to be rediscovered. That changed in 2001, when professional divers, using modern archaeological technology, began exploring the depths of Qiandao Lake. What they uncovered shocked the archaeological community and completely altered perceptions of the region. Almost perfectly preserved ancient structures were found at the bottom of the lake. Wooden homes from past eras, solid stone walls, staircases, city gates, temples, ancient towers, and ancestral halls, all seemingly frozen in time. One of the most astonishing discoveries was the Gate of Xicheng, which could still open and close normally. The iron rings and rivets were almost entirely rust-free, and the mortar between the stone blocks remained remarkably solid. Beneath layers of mud, archaeologists also discovered a brick slab inscribed with the words, "Made in the 15th year of Guangxu," corresponding to the year 1889, as well as a stone stele from the Ming dynasty bearing invaluable historical information. This truly is an Eastern underwater Pompeii, a city sealed away by time, accessible only with advanced diving equipment. Remarkably, the area surrounding the lake holds even more ancient cultural relics, with archaeological sites dating from the Stone Age to the Spring and Autumn and Warring States periods. Notably, in 1974, a fossilized tooth belonging to an ancient human was discovered in Wu Gui Cave near Ligia town. The fossil is estimated to be about 50,000 years old, revealing the possibility that this region once housed prehistoric humans. In short, Qiandao Lake is not only a place of breathtaking natural scenery, but also a massive archaeological treasure trove. Every stone wall, paving brick, and ancient roof resting silently beneath the water tells a story of the life, culture, and architecture of ancient China. A story that was forgotten for more than half a century, but is now slowly being revealed. If you're passionate about history, fascinated by archaeology, or simply curious about lost cities, Qiandao Lake is a destination you absolutely must include in your journey to uncover the world's greatest mysteries. The largest palace in Chinese history. The Forbidden City is one of the largest ancient wooden complexes in the world, renowned for its unique architecture and grand scale. It has been recognized by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site. However, throughout China's long history, there was an even more magnificent and expansive palace complex that is rarely mentioned: Weiyang Palace. Weiyang Palace was a massive palace complex built in 200 BCE by order of Emperor Gaozu of Han, Liu Bang, under the supervision of Prime Minister Xiao He. It served as the administrative center and royal residence for Chinese emperors during the Han and Jin dynasties, as well as other regimes during the Southern and Northern dynasties period. Weiyang Palace was located in Chang'an, the capital of the Han Dynasty, modern-day Xi'an, in Shanxi Province. From east to west, the palace stretched approximately 1.34 miles, and from north to south, about 1.4 miles, covering a total area of roughly 1.85 square miles. To put this in perspective, Weiyang Palace was nearly 7 times larger than the Forbidden City, also known as the Old Palace, which covers only about 0.28 square miles. In other words, it would take almost 7 Forbidden Cities to match the space occupied by Weiyang Palace. Compared to Vatican City in Rome, Italy, Weiyang Palace was 11 times larger, a mind-blowing fact. Although now buried beneath ruins, Weiyang Palace was once among the largest palace complexes ever built. The remnants that survive today can no longer fully showcase the grandeur, magnificence, and brilliance of this once glorious royal residence of the Han Dynasty. By the Tang Dynasty, the palace began to lose its significance as emperors started constructing new palaces. Some historians believe that Weiyang Palace suffered severe destruction during this period. According to historical records, events like the An Lushan Rebellion, led by An Lushan in the mid-8th century, and the Huangchao Uprising against the Tang Dynasty are thought to have caused significant damage to Weiyang Palace, reducing it to the ruins we see today. Today, the vast remains of Weiyang Palace have become an important archaeological site. Researchers have conducted multiple excavations, revealing fascinating insights about this architectural marvel. The palace complex was rectangular in shape, surrounded by a massive, thick wall with multiple gates. Each wall had a main gate in the center and 2 smaller side gates. The palace foundation was made using rammed earth, a material that is not only environmentally friendly, but also remarkably strong, fire-resistant, and pest-resistant. Major architectural features within Weiyang Palace included the Front Hall, Warm Chamber Hall, Golden Flower Hall, Chengming Hall, Xiaofang Hall, Bai Lian Terrace, and Tianlu Pavilion, among others. In addition, the design of artificial lakes and mountains within the palace grounds was dynamic and differed from those of earlier dynasties. Though it stood for approximately 1,041 years, Weiyang Palace is considered the largest and longest used imperial palace in Chinese history. Its architectural and planning principles profoundly influenced the design of subsequent palaces for over 2,000 years. 6 most mysterious ancient tombs recently discovered by archaeologists that shocked the world. The mass grave of 500 women and children. The bloody secret beneath the Dulag 191 death camp. Beneath the seemingly lifeless soil of a peaceful countryside in southwestern Russia, near the border with Ukraine, A horrifying truth has just been unearthed after decades buried in silence. A mass grave containing over 500 skeletons of women and children has been excavated, not from prehistoric times or an ancient civilization, but from the mid-20th century in one of the darkest chapters of human history, World War II. This excavation site belongs to the Gulag 191 concentration camp, a place long forgotten after the fall of Nazi Germany, but now resurfacing as a haunting reminder. The camp was used to imprison those whom the fascist regime deemed enemies of the empire. Not soldiers, not spies, but women and children, the most vulnerable, defenseless victims, herded into what was called the final stop of life. Behind barbed wire fences, under tattered tents, and amidst the bone-chilling cold of Eastern European winters, thousands were forced to live in fear, hunger, and despair. And when death came, they were not given a proper burial. Instead, their bodies were dumped into deep, nameless pits, without a trace, without a farewell. This is where archaeologists recently discovered 500 skeletons, mostly women and children, bearing bullet wounds to the skulls, broken bones, and a silence that has lasted for more than 70 years. What makes this discovery especially heartbreaking is that almost no personal belongings or valuables were found with the remains. Only a single damaged cigarette case, a lone surviving memory amid the ruins. A small artifact, yet one that speaks volumes. These were not prisoners of war. They were not combatants. They were mothers and children, captured, tortured, and killed without any chance to survive. Mikhail Sagodin, the lead archaeologist of the excavation, confirmed that most of the bones belonged to very young individuals. Some girls were only about 7 or 8 years old. The wounds on their bodies, close-range gunshots, shattered limb bones, are clear evidence of unimaginable cruelty inflicted by the perpetrators of these crimes. A particularly haunting detail comes from local historian Victor Strelkin, who said that for many years, villagers had seen fragments of white bones appear after heavy rains or landslides. They had walked past these remains every day without knowing, or perhaps knowing but too afraid to speak out. Now, after so many years buried in silence, the truth can no longer be ignored. One can say that this mass grave is not just an archaeological discovery with historical value, but a sorrowful echo from the past, of erased lives, untold stories, and wounds that have never healed. It forces us to face a harsh reality. In war, humans can become more ruthless than any nightmare. What do you think when you hear about a grave like this? 500 lives crushed, not only by bullets, but also by decades of silence. This discovery leaves one wondering, how many more truths remain buried beneath the earth? How many souls are still waiting to be named and properly remembered? Looking at these remains, no one can continue to believe that war is glorious or heroic. It only leaves behind unspoken pain, memories no one wants to recall, and tragedies that history demands we record, to ensure they never happen again. And perhaps the scariest part is not what happened, but that we once allowed it to happen and stayed silent for far too long. The mass grave of 227 children and the most horrifying sacrificial ritual in human history. If one day you happen to wander into the wild lands of Pampa La Cruz, a windy plateau in Peru, you might never imagine that right beneath the dry earth lies the resting place of hundreds of young souls, lives once offered to the gods in a brutal sacrificial ritual over 1,400 years ago. But did you know? The mass grave of 227 children recently unearthed is one of the most shocking archaeological discoveries in recent years. It wasn't war nor disease that caused their deaths. These children, aged from 4 to 14, were deliberately killed as part of the Chimú civilization's ritual offerings, a powerful empire that existed before the Incas. You might wonder, why children? Why sacrifice such young lives? The answer is tied to an ancient fear, the fear of nature's wrath. The Chimú believed it could only be appeased with human blood, and the tragedy began with a natural phenomenon familiar to us today, El Niño. According to historians and archaeologists, the Chimú saw El Niño, bringing heavy rains, floods, crop failures, and disease, as a sign of angry gods. Without science to explain it or technology to control it, they turned to rituals. But these rituals were not mere prayers. They were cold, ruthless, and deeply religious sacrifices. Imagine hundreds of children brought to an open field, accompanied by the sacred camelids without humps, important animals in Chimu culture. Each child, whether from common folk or nobility, dressed in fine clothes and wearing sparkling silver earrings, was killed according to a predetermined ritual. Many of the skeletons still have skin and hair preserved, making the scene hauntingly vivid. But this is not the first time Pampa La Cruz has revealed such a gruesome secret. In 2018, 56 children's remains and 140 sacrificed camelids were found in the area. Yet the latest discovery of 227 children surpasses all expectations, making it one of the largest known mass child sacrifice events in human history. Do you feel a chill thinking about what happened here? I cannot stop picturing those children, lives stolen too soon because adults believed their deaths would save the crops. What could be more tragic than a society willing to sacrifice its future to buy temporary peace? The Chimu built a brilliant culture, with sophisticated administration and impressive architecture. But behind that glory was a darkness, where religious rituals took precedence over the value of life. And that is why we cannot view this ancient civilization with admiration alone. Today, as modern humanity struggles with climate change, drought, and natural disasters, are we really any different? Maybe we no longer offer human sacrifices to bring rain, but are there other kinds of sacrifices happening through apathy, greed, and harmful decisions affecting future generations? That mass grave, beyond its archaeological value, serves as a mirror reflecting history, religion, and ethics. It reminds us that behind the splendor of any civilization may hide crimes, and that true progress lies not in technology or power, but in how a society treats its most vulnerable. What do you think when you see the photos of the burial site of those 227 innocent children? Does it make you reflect on the past or ponder the present? Please share your thoughts below. For me, it is a deep sadness and a reminder that history is never something to be forgotten. The mysterious red coffin and the rebellious princess, revealing a shocking tomb in Chinese history. On the wild peak of Turkey Mountain in the Inner Mongolia, autonomous region, on a day in early 2003, a team of Chinese archaeologists unearthed an ancient tomb that at first seemed ordinary, but as soon as the first layer of soil was removed, a breathtaking mystery began to emerge. A blazing red coffin with no epitaph, no message from the past, only an unusual bright red hue glowing beneath the cold earth. What made this 1,000-year-old tomb so extraordinary? Why was the deceased placed inside a coffin whose color completely contradicted local burial traditions? In the central plains of China, black is the traditional mourning color, symbolizing solemnity and farewell, while red is typically associated with joy, celebration, or sacred power. The presence of a red coffin in the northern mountains, home mainly to minority tribes such as the Khitan, not only challenged initial assumptions, but also opened up a buried historical story spanning over a millennium. The coffin was not just red, it was intricately carved with delicate patterns, so sharp and precise that experts held their breath while examining them. Each pattern seemed to tell a part of a memory, a piece of identity that the living wanted to preserve for future generations. Though there was no inscription, the coffin itself became a vivid record of the person buried inside. When the coffin was finally opened, all eyes were drawn to the face-covered body, a burial custom rarely seen in traditional Chinese funerary culture. The woman inside was dressed in 11 layers of clothing, but after so many years of decay, the outer layers had almost completely disintegrated. Only upon uncovering the innermost layer did the team gasp at the discovery of a dark black liquid surrounding the body. Not groundwater, but mercury, an ancient preservation technique believed to be reserved only for especially royal or highly ritualistic burials. All these details raised many questions among specialists. Who was this woman? Why was she so carefully preserved, yet buried in a simple tomb with no signs of nobility? Answers gradually emerged as historical records were cross-referenced with the artifacts found. The woman in the red coffin was identified as Princess Yelu Dugu, sister of Liao Taizu, the founding emperor of the Liao dynasty, a dynasty established by the Khitan people that once ruled northeast China in the 10th century. According to historical texts, after ascending to the throne, Liao Taizu had a grand ambition. to abolish the traditional clan system and build a centralized political system similar to Han Chinese dynasties. This plan faced fierce opposition from many Khitan tribes, including Princess Yelu Dugu herself. She was known as a strong, intelligent woman with great influence among the local nobility. Unwilling to watch her people's culture be assimilated, she participated in a rebellion and ultimately was imprisoned by her own brother until her death. Because she had opposed the supreme power, Yelu Dugu was denied a proper royal funeral. No epitaph, no stone statues, no offerings. The tomb was simply constructed as a way to erase her name from history. But the striking red color, it seemed to be her final voice, a declaration that she did not surrender. Thus, the red coffin is not just a strange artifact, it is a powerful symbol of resistance and the desire to preserve identity by a woman who dared to challenge an empire. More than that, it serves as a precious cultural record of funerary customs, political power, and the role of women in ancient Chinese minority tribes. History is sometimes written not just in words but in colors, patterns, and silence. Princess Yelu Dugu's red coffin is proof of that. A strong memory unearthed not only from the earth, but from the very depths of human history. The ancient Ming Dynasty tomb containing a mysterious treasure. Nearly 2 decades ago, in Hubei province, China, an extremely unusual tomb was discovered. At that time, experts often referred to it as the water tomb. What caused a stir across China was that this ancient tomb was believed to hide the treasure of a famous royal figure who lived during the Ming Dynasty. Specifically, in 2001, archaeologists accidentally uncovered this tomb. After locating the entrance, those conducting the excavation encountered a very rare and strange situation. The stone door sealing the tomb's underground chamber was leaking water continuously. This indicated that the tomb had likely been submerged underwater. Witnessing this, everyone at the site was stunned. Most ancient tombs were designed to be water-resistant and prevent moisture. So why was this particular tomb flooded? Because of this unusual condition, the team had to carry out an extensive water drainage process that lasted for 12 consecutive days. It took nearly half a month to remove the enormous volume of water inside the tomb's underground chamber. Once inside, everyone was amazed beyond belief. The tomb contained a treasure trove that had been perfectly preserved for hundreds of years. Statistics showed that this Ming Dynasty tomb contained approximately 5,300 artifacts, including over 700 pieces inlaid with precious stones. Moreover, many treasures buried underground were identified as imported items from foreign countries. The discovery of this priceless treasure made the tomb the subject of widespread public discussion at the time. Many believed that the tomb's occupant was either a prince or a royal family member. Even some experts suggested that the person buried there was closely related to the Ming royal lineage. So, who was the individual laid to rest alongside such a massive treasure? Was this person a famous figure of the Ming Dynasty? After many days of studying the artifacts and consulting historical documents, the identity of the tomb's occupant was finally revealed. As expected, the tomb belonged to Prince Liangjang, a young regional prince from the Ming era. Prince Liangjang's real name was Zhu Timu, born 1411, died 1441. He was the nephew of Ming Chengzu Zhu Di, the 9th son of Emperor Ming Renzong Zhu Gaoji, and the younger brother of Emperor Ming Xuanzong. Zhu Timu was the first and only prince of Liang during the Ming Dynasty. Historical records describe him as exceptionally talented, studious, virtuous, mild-mannered, and humble, beloved by both his father and elder brother, the emperor. Prince Liangjang ruled for 17 years, but sadly died in 1441 before reaching 30 years old. He was buried at Mount Yuling. Because Prince Liangjang had no sons, his title was not inherited, which explains why the enormous amount of gold, silver, and treasures he owned were buried with him as grave goods. Prince Liangjang lived during the prosperous period of the Ming Dynasty. During this time, Zheng He made multiple voyages to the Western Oceans, bringing back many foreign treasures. This explains the presence of foreign origin artifacts found in the tomb of this royal prince. Ancient monk's tomb containing dolphin remains. In September 2017, archaeologists made an astonishing discovery at Chapelle Dom Hu, a small island off the coast of Guernsey. This place was once home to medieval monks. During the excavation, researchers uncovered a mysterious tomb containing the skeletal remains of a dolphin. This finding shocked the scientific community and raised many difficult questions. The tomb was buried deep underground, constructed from locally sourced gneiss stones found on the island, forming a rectangular pit. Unusually, the tomb was oriented northeast to southwest and located near the ruins of a structure that archaeologists believe may have been a medieval chapel. In addition, during the excavation, researchers also discovered several ceramic and flint artifacts dating back to prehistoric and medieval times. However, the most astonishing discovery was the dolphin skeleton. According to historical records, dolphin meat was a popular food during the Middle Ages, especially in the 13th and 14th centuries. There is ample evidence that people during this period hunted, butchered, and prepared dolphins for consumption. What puzzled archaeologists, however, was why an animal that had been slaughtered would be buried in a tomb. Some hypotheses suggest that the burial could have been related to a failed attempt to preserve dolphin meat with salt, or it might have been part of a special ritual involving the animal. Mr. de Jersey, an expert in archaeological research, noted that the ceramics found near the tomb date back to the 14th century. Yet the strangeness of this discovery did not end there. The dolphin remains were affected by the soil's pH level, which complicated efforts to determine their precise age. This is one of the reasons why the story remains an unsolved mystery. Mass grave in Poland's Valley of Death. Recently, Polish archaeologists uncovered one of the darkest secrets of World War II history by discovering a mass grave containing nearly 500 victims of the Pomeranian crime. This grave was found in the Pomerania province, the site of one of the most brutal massacres in wartime history, where the Nazi regime not only occupied but also caused the deaths of thousands of innocent Polish civilians. Most of the victims were local residents, including members of the Polish resistance movement, who were murdered by the invading forces between 1939 and 1945. In 1939, when Nazi Germany invaded Poland, the Pomeranian crime became one of the first large-scale massacres. More than 12,000 people were killed in the forests surrounding the village of Piaśnica, along with 7,000 others buried in Szpęgawsk. These killings were a prelude to further Nazi atrocities during the war and laid the groundwork for the crimes of the Holocaust. However, the truth about these massacres did not end there. After the war's conclusion, the Nazis returned in 1945, continuing executions and attempts to erase all traces of their crimes. To cover up evidence, the Nazi forces exhumed the graves and burned the victims' bodies. But these efforts could not completely hide the truth. Using modern technology such as LiDAR and ground-penetrating radar, archaeologists discovered the traces of these mass graves. By analyzing artifacts and skeletal remains, the research team found wedding rings, one belonging to Irina Szydłowska, a female fighter in the Armia Krajowa resistance. These artifacts not only prove the brutality of the Nazis, but also reflect the deep loss suffered by families. Researchers hope to identify more victims through DNA analysis, and eventually, the Valley of Death will become an official war cemetery to honor those who sacrificed their lives for freedom. 7 most mysterious and terrifying discoveries recently that brought archaeologists to tears. The vampire child in the Polish cemetery. In August 2023, in the village of Pn, Poland, archaeologists discovered a 17th-century grave containing the remains of a child. However, what makes this grave unusual is not the location or the child's age, but the strange burial posture and the bizarre rituals surrounding it. The child was buried face down with their legs shackled by an iron chain, leading archaeologists to hypothesize that the child might have been considered a vampire. The burial posture and the iron chain were possibly used to prevent the child from rising from the grave and seeking revenge on the villagers, much like the vampire legends we often hear about. The child's skeleton was determined to be between 5 and 7 years old. This is not the only discovery at the site. In 2022, archaeologists found the skeleton of a woman believed to be a vampire, buried with a padlock attached to her big toe and a sickle placed across her neck, presumably to stop her from rising from the dead. These discoveries shed light on an important part of burial history during that era, revealing a unique custom connected to beliefs in vampires and fears rooted in folklore. Professor Dariusz Polinsky, head of the excavation, said that the two graves were found just 6.5 feet apart in a special cemetery area. Researchers believe this was a burial ground for outcasts, people who were not accepted in Christian cemeteries. These graves often used unusual burial methods, including anti-vampire tactics such as triangular-shaped padlocks attached to the deceased's feet, along with signs that the graves had been dug up or disturbed after the initial burial. The question is, why were these individuals treated this way? Professor Polinsky explained that it could be because they exhibited strange behavior while alive, causing fear among the community. Or they might have had a disease that altered their appearance, leading people to believe they were vampires. In the 17th century, people often feared unbaptized children or those who drowned, believing such individuals could return from the dead to harm the living. Vampire burial customs were not only common in Poland, but also widespread throughout Europe from the 14th century onward. According to Matteo Barini, a forensic anthropology lecturer at Liverpool John Moores University, people in the past often associated unexplained deaths with the presence of vampires. They believed these vampires would relentlessly hunt and kill family members, then move on to neighbors and villagers, much like how infectious diseases spread through a community. This really makes us reflect on the strange beliefs and customs of the past, doesn't it? Discoveries like these not only help us better understand burial history, but also highlight the fears and superstitions of earlier times. Do you think people in the past truly believed in vampires, or was this simply a way to explain phenomena they could not understand? The tomb of Qin Shi Huang's daughter. Ascending the throne at just 13 years old, Qin Shi Huang became the first emperor and one of the greatest rulers in Chinese history. Numerous legends and tales surround this emperor, with the Great Wall of China and the Lingkou Canal still standing today, serving as the clearest testament to his visionary leadership. However, despite being hailed as the eternal emperor with a glorious legacy, Qin Shi Huang's personal life was filled with tragedy. According to experts, Qin Shi Huang had up to 33 heirs, the most notable being Prince Fusu and Hu Hai, who later became the second emperor of the Qin dynasty. Among them, the princess most cherished by Qin Shi Huang was Yin Man. Pampered by her father, Princess Yin Man lived a life of luxury and carefree extravagance. However, everything changed drastically after Qin Shi Huang's death. Overnight, the princess lost everything, and along with her brothers, was sentenced to death by dismemberment. This tragedy is vividly reflected in an ancient tomb complex located east of the Qinling Mountains in Shanxi, China, excavated by experts in October 1976. After uncovering the first 8 tombs, archaeologists discovered numerous irregularities. In these tombs, most of the skeletal remains were buried in disarray. Some bodies had severed heads, were pierced by arrows, or had limbs detached, indicating that these individuals were brutally and cruelly executed. Moreover, the tombs were located near the Qinling Mountains and contained an enormous quantity of lavish and valuable burial goods. This led experts to speculate that the individuals buried there were closely connected to the Qin royal family, particularly Qin Shi Huang. Notably, a seal inscribed with the 2 characters Yang Si found in the tomb provided a clue to the mystery. According to experts, this seal confirmed the identity of Princess Yin Man, the beloved daughter of Qin Shi Huang. At this point, the secrets were unraveled. Specifically, after Qin Shi Huang's death, Prince Hu Hai conspired with the eunuch Zhao Gao to forge an imperial edict, plotting to kill Crown Prince Fusu to seize the throne. After successfully claiming the throne, Hu Hai ruthlessly eliminated all opposition, including his siblings. As a result, 12 princes were beheaded at the Xianyang marketplace, and 10 princesses were dismembered, plunging the royal palace into a scene of death and destruction. However, just 3 years into his reign, the dynasty fell into chaos. Hu Hai was forced to abdicate and took his own life in disgrace, leading to the collapse of the Qin dynasty. This can be described as a profoundly tragic historical saga. Ancient remains that moved archaeologists to tears. Over 4,000 years ago, Qinghai Province, China, experienced a catastrophic earthquake. Without warning, a deafening sound erupted. The sky darkened and the earth cracked, triggering landslides and collapse. In that moment, many perished before they could react, while survivors wept in despair amid the chaos, as if it were the end of the world. When the dust finally settled, only devastation remained. In 1999, someone stumbled upon evidence of this earthquake and reported it to authorities, immediately drawing significant attention from China's archaeological community. A joint archaeological team was swiftly formed and dispatched to the site for excavation. As the site was uncovered layer by layer, it was revealed to be the Lodja site, lost to the earthquake 4,000 years ago. At the same time, a poignant display of maternal love, preserved for 4,000 years, came into view for future generations. According to data, the massive site spans a total area of approximately 4.3 million square feet, with the core area covering up to 2.15 million square feet. Archaeologists discovered a total of 14 human skeletons in house number. Astonishingly, most of these skeletons belonged to children, with the youngest being just 2 years old. It was evident that before the earthquake struck, these individuals had gathered together, unprepared and likely joyful, indicating the suddenness of the disaster. This was further suggested by the state of some of the skeletons. The catastrophic earthquake claimed the lives of everyone in an instant. The postures of the remains varied. Some were sprawled face down, others lay on their sides with bent limbs. Most striking was a skeleton embracing a child, positioned as if shielding them from harm. Upon seeing this, every archaeologist present was moved to tears. Through rigorous DNA testing, experts determined that the 14 skeletons were closely related, suggesting they were part of a single family. Beyond the family remains, archaeologists made an even more remarkable discovery: a bowl of noodles made from millet. Using similar methods, it was confirmed that people over 4,000 years ago used millet to make noodles. The Lodja site, now dubbed the Site of Love, was later recognized as one of China's top 10 archaeological discoveries. Today, the Lodja site is known as the Oriental Pompeii, renowned both domestically and internationally. If you have the opportunity to visit, you might uncover an unexpected discovery at this remarkable site. The 1,300-year-old skeleton of a woman who gave birth in her coffin. In 2010, during an excavation in the town of Imola, near the city of Bologna in northern Italy, archaeologists discovered the 1,300-year-old skeleton of a woman estimated to be between 25 and 35 years old. The skull had a hole on its top, and nearby was the unusually positioned skeleton of a fetus. The baby's head and torso lay between the mother's two thigh bones, while the leg bones remained inside the pelvic cavity. After thorough research, scientists concluded that the woman died while pregnant. She gave birth post-mortem and was buried with the newborn, a phenomenon known as coffin birth. Archaeologists from the University of Ferrara and the University of Bologna sought to unravel the mystery of the mother and child's deaths in a study published in the May 2018 issue of World Neurosurgery. Their research suggests that these two remarkable skeletons may represent a medieval example of a primitive brain surgery technique called trepanation. This procedure involved drilling or cutting a small hole in the patient's skull to relieve pressure and treat various ailments. In this case, however, the surgery failed, and the pregnant woman died along with her fetus still in the womb. So, what causes the phenomenon of giving birth in a coffin? What we know after death is that decomposition breaks down tissues and cells in the body. This is key to understanding this mysterious event. During decomposition, anaerobic bacteria rapidly multiply, reducing oxygen levels and causing the buildup of gases such as carbon dioxide and methane. These gases not only cause the body to swell, but also trigger contractions similar to those experienced by women during normal labor. As gas accumulates, the pressure increases, pushing the fetus out of the mother's body. Thus, this strange coffin birth occurs naturally as part of the body's decomposition process. Though no one has witnessed it firsthand, scientists believe that as a pregnant woman's body decomposes, trapped gases build up inside the abdominal cavity, creating pressure that forces the fetus out. The 4,800-year-old skeletons of a mother and child in Taiwan. Beneath the soft, dark soil of the central Taiwan plains, a scene beyond words stunned the entire archaeological team into silence. It was not a grand palace, golden treasure, or magnificent structure, but a deeply human moment, fossilized for over 4,800 years. It was the skeleton of a young mother, bent over holding her infant tightly in her arms, her invisible eyes seemingly still gazing at her child with the full love of a primal mother. This portrait in bones is not only an archaeological testament, but also a timeless haunting, raising countless questions about death, life, and the undying bond of motherhood. Specifically, in 2014, during the excavation of a prehistoric communal burial site in Taichung, one of Taiwan's most important archaeological locations, experts uncovered 48 skeletons strangely arranged beneath the earth. These remains represent the earliest evidence of human presence in this land, dating back some 4,800 years. Each skeleton tells its own story of individuals who once lived, breathed, and walked this world. But among these dozens of nameless bones, only one image caused the entire excavation team to pause, fall silent, and feel deep emotion. The skeleton of a young woman kneeling, cradling a small child in her arms, her head bowed as if whispering a final farewell to her baby. Dr. Chu Wei-li, director of anthropology at the National Museum of Natural Science in Taiwan and a direct participant in the excavation, shared that the team was speechless when they uncovered these two skeletons. They were not just looking at cold bones, but witnessing a vivid moment, a profound symbol of motherhood preserved intact after nearly 5 millennia. The mother, estimated to be between 20 and 25 years old and approximately 5 feet 3 inches tall, was found kneeling, holding the child with her left arm, her head bowed as though gazing upon her child one last time. The infant, analyzed to be about 6 months old with bones roughly 19.7 inches in length, had lived at least half a year before passing away. Initially, researchers hypothesized that the infant might have died prematurely or from birth complications, but bone evidence disproved this theory. The remarkable detail is that both mother and child died simultaneously, in the same place, their posture suggesting a deep, unbroken bond. What caused their deaths? An accident? A natural disaster? Or a mysterious sacrificial ritual? Although the cause remains unclear, one fact is undeniable. Their posture was no accident. It is as if time itself had framed the moment, capturing the mother holding her child in the final instant of life. Prehistoric Taiwan left few written records or inscriptions for us to follow, but through archaeological sites like this burial ground, we can begin to imagine the lives and beliefs of ancient inhabitants. The neat, deliberate burial of 48 skeletons indicates the presence of funeral rites, vital customs within a nascent community. They not only lived and hunted together, but also buried their dead with profound respect. Among this community, the mother and child have become an emblem of love, transcending the boundary between life and death, something that even modern civilization struggles to fully express through science or language. The story of this mother's skeletal embrace is among archaeology's most touching discoveries, revealing the deeply human side of a field, often reduced to dates, numbers, and bones. It reminds us that archaeology is not just about unearthing artifacts. It is about recovering emotions, memories, and the spiritual values of ancient people. Mummy with intact ears and hair, found in 2,000-year-old tomb. The city of Pompeii, famous for being buried under volcanic ash during the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in AD 79, has preserved many mysteries about the lives of its ancient inhabitants. One of the most remarkable discoveries from recent excavations is the mummy of a man, remarkably well preserved with distinctive white hair and nearly intact ears, which surprised experts greatly. Initial studies identify the remains as those of Marcus Venerius Secundio, a man who was once a slave but lived a life of effort and advancement. He died around the age of 60, while many others likely perished younger due to the harsh living conditions in Pompeii at the time. Before his death, Marcus was relatively wealthy and held a notable social status. Originally a slave working at the Temple of Venus, Marcus was freed after many years of diligent labor. Upon gaining his freedom, he not only earned money but also became an organizer of Greek language performances, further elevating his social standing. When he passed away, Marcus was buried in a large rectangular tomb, clearly reflecting his wealth and status. Within the tomb, experts discovered valuable artifacts, including fragments of glass unguentaria, small bottles used to hold oils and perfumes in ancient Roman and Greek rituals. Additionally, they found scraps of cloth, wine vessels, and other objects that help archaeologists better understand Marcus's lifestyle, diet, and customs. Notably, Marcus was mummified rather than cremated, which was the common practice in Pompeii at the time. This poses a significant question. Experts are currently working to uncover why this particular method of body preservation was chosen, but the answer remains a mystery for now. The mysterious mummies of the Chilean desert. The Atacama Desert region in Chile is home to one of the most mysterious and unique cultures in human history, the ancient Chinchorro people. Their mummies astonish not only because of their sophisticated embalming techniques, but also due to the unique beliefs and rituals they practiced to preserve the presence of their ancestors. Unlike other cultures, such as ancient Egypt, where only kings or nobles were mummified, the Chinchorro performed these rituals for everyone, regardless of age or social status. Newborns, fetuses, and even animals were all carefully embalmed and treated with the same meticulous care as adults. The Chinchorro mummies are extremely special, preserved in various postures such as lying down, sitting, and some even smiling. These mummies still retain skin, hair, and clothing, creating a vivid image of those who have passed on. One of the strangest features is that the faces of some mummies were made from pelican skin, resulting in very distinctive facial masks with calm or smiling expressions. These mummies are not just archaeological artifacts, they are an integral part of the Chinchorro people's spiritual beliefs and way of life. The Chinchorro embalming technique was highly advanced and distinctive. One primary method involved natural dehydration, but the most important factor that contributed to the excellent preservation was the harsh environment of the Atacama Desert. The high temperatures and low humidity of this region caused the bodies to quickly lose moisture, preventing bacterial growth and keeping the remains in remarkable condition. Some mummies still have intact skin and hair, a rarity among other embalming cultures. The Chinchorro mummification ritual lasted for more than 3,000 years and went through various stages of development. Around 7,000 years ago, when the Chinchorro population rapidly increased, their embalming techniques were improved and flourished. Some mummies stand out with masks made from shrouds, ropes, and pelican skin, reflecting the distinctive artistic style of this culture. A notable discovery is the mummy of a boy wearing a mask, buried on a mat woven from reed plants, with his internal organs replaced by earth and covered in a layer of black manganese ash. The Chinchorro mummies are not just ancient relics, they reflect a profound belief in the enduring presence of ancestors. These mummies were carefully buried but often paraded through the village before interment, demonstrating respect and connection to the spiritual world. Additionally, the use of materials like reeds and ash to reinforce bones and joints shows the creativity and skill involved in Chinchorro embalming artistry. Especially significant is the care taken for children, who were embalmed thoroughly and mounted on wooden frames to be carried on their parents' backs, creating a striking and touching image of the bond between generations. This reveals a unique cultural aspect of the Chinchorro, where life and death were not distinguished. These mysterious mummies continue to be a fascinating subject of study for archaeologists. Although their embalming techniques share similarities with other cultures, the uniqueness of the Chinchorro is undeniable. They were not merely ordinary hunter-gatherers, but highly intelligent people with advanced skills in protecting and honoring ancestral souls, leaving an indelible mark in human history. Archaeologists open a 1,400-year-old ancient Chinese tomb, where together we unlock the doors of time and uncover secrets buried beneath the earth for thousands of years. In today's video, let's journey back to the city of Xi'an, once a brilliant imperial capital of many ancient Chinese dynasties, and also the site of one of the most mysterious and touching archaeological discoveries in modern history. Can you believe it? In the midst of the 21st century's hustle and bustle, surrounded by towering skyscrapers constantly rising, few would expect that every time construction begins in Xi'an, the past seems to speak up. And in 1957, something unexpected happened, an event that left archaeologists across China stunned. At the time, a group of workers was digging when they stumbled upon an unusual underground structure. At first, it was just some ancient stone blocks, but as they dug deeper, it became clear. They had uncovered an ancient tomb. News of the find was immediately sent to archaeologists, and from there, the journey to uncover a tragic yet powerful story began. When the archaeological team arrived on site, the most shocking thing was this. There was no coffin. a clearly defined ancient tomb, yet the body was missing. It wasn't until much later, during the construction of a nearby access road, that a stone coffin was discovered, completely separated from the main tomb structure. This oddity sparked a wave of questions. Why was the burial so isolated? Who was this person, treated with such strange reverence? Eventually, the layers of mystery began to lift. As experts gently brushed away the thick dust from the ancient coffin, the answer emerged, shocking scholars across the board. This was the final resting place of Li Jingxun, a royal girl who died at the tender age of just 9 years old. She was the maternal granddaughter of Empress Yang Lihua, a powerful figure during the Sui dynasty. Historical records recount that Li Jingxun's sudden death devastated Empress Yang, who ordered an extraordinarily grand funeral, more extravagant than even that of Emperor Wen of Sui, the founder of the dynasty. That's why this little girl's coffin was crafted like a work of art, a domed structure resembling a palace, intricately carved with every detail and enclosed in a monumental stone sarcophagus so precious it's considered priceless. When the lid was finally opened, archaeologists were met with a strip of silk, about 39 inches long and 12 inches wide, gently draped over the girl's bones. Burial objects were scattered around, tiny, delicate, ornate jewelry, almost as if trying to hold on to the fleeting innocence of a princess gone too soon. Among these artifacts, one stood out, a necklace made of gemstones and pearls, believed to be a final gift from the empress to her beloved granddaughter. To this day, the necklace is kept at the National Museum of China, a living testament to the exquisite craftsmanship of the Sui dynasty. But that's not all. Can you imagine? In a tomb over 1,400 years old, archaeologists also discovered an oval-shaped glass bottle, a masterpiece that shows how advanced ancient glass-blowing techniques were, astonishing even modern experts. And then came the next jaw-dropping artifact, a white jade cup inlaid with gold, small enough to fit in the palm of your hand, about 1.6 inches tall and 2.2 inches in diameter. Though tiny, this cup possessed all the traits of a royal treasure. It was made of Hechen jade, one of the most prized and legendary gemstones in China. The cup's body was smooth and glossy, its rim delicately inlaid with gold, its design elegant and refined. Unassuming as it might be, under soft lighting, the jade cup radiated the aura of a true treasure, a symbol of the phrase, "Gold and jade fill the halls." This cup wasn't just a functional item, it marked a milestone in jade craftsmanship during the Northern Zhou and Sui dynasties. While the Han dynasty marked the golden age of jade production, later periods like the Wei, Jin, and Tang saw jade being incorporated into daily life, not just reserved for burial items. This white jade cup with gold inlay clearly represents that evolution. Beautiful, practical, and deeply symbolic. But did you know? What makes this story even more mysterious is the inscription carved onto the lid of the stone sarcophagus. "Whoever opens it shall die." It sounds like something out of a horror movie, doesn't it? Yet this chilling phrase likely helped preserve the tomb, leaving it untouched for over 1,400 years. Some scholars believe it was a brilliant psychological deterrent. Others think it might have been something more, something supernatural. Perhaps Empress Yang, in her boundless love for her granddaughter, inscribed the curse herself as a way to protect the girl, even in death. So what about you? Do you think it was just a clever scare tactic? Or was it a real, haunting warning? As for me, no matter what it was, the story of Li Jingxun's tomb is not only a discovery of historical and artistic significance, it's a powerful testament to the immortality of familial love and ancient spiritual beliefs. It's a somber yet emotional chapter in the ever-flowing history of a once glorious civilization. But if you think this is the only tale that gives archaeologists goosebumps, think again. Because right now, in the next part of this video, we'll continue to explore more ancient tombs sealed for millennia, relics that seem almost mythical, and historical secrets still waiting to be awakened beneath the layers of time. Are you curious to uncover the stories they hide? Let's dive in, right now. The Teotihuacan altar in the ancient Maya city of Tikal. If you think the Maya civilization was only about towering stone pyramids hidden in the Guatemalan jungle, this discovery might make you rethink the entire history. On April 7th, the Guatemalan government officially announced the discovery of an ancient altar decorated with murals in the style of Teotihuacan, the once great civilization that ruled over much of Central America thousands of years ago. What makes this finding extraordinary is that the altar wasn't located in Teotihuacan, Mexico, but rather in the heart of the ancient Maya city of Tikal, a major urban center in northern Guatemala. According to Dr. Edwin Ramirez, lead archaeologist of the Southern Tikal project, this discovery is a key to understanding the complex relationship between the two greatest pre-Columbian civilizations, the Maya and Teotihuacan. He explained that this structure carries social, political, and religious significance, evidence that their relationship went beyond simple trade and involved elite-level interaction and power exchange. The altar is described as a sloped roof structure measuring approximately 3.6 feet from east to west, 5.9 feet from north to south, and standing about 3.3 feet tall. It is entirely covered in limestone, a common building material in ancient Maya architecture. To decipher the altar's intricate mural designs, the archaeological team used modern digital technology, specifically a software called D-Stretch, which enhances faded shapes and colors. On the altar's surface, researchers identified the image of a figure wearing a tassel-adorned headdress, a distinct marker of Teotihuacan nobility. This provides direct evidence supporting the theory that Teotihuacan elites were present in Tikal and had deep political influence within the city. Located about 310 miles from present-day Guatemala City. But perhaps even more shocking was the discovery of the remains of 3 children, each under the age of 4, buried at the 3 corners of the altar. This has led experts to believe that ritual sacrifices, specifically child sacrifices, were once conducted here, indicating the altar's sacred role tied to ancient religious beliefs. The finding not only confirms that Tikal was an international hub in ancient times, where cultures and powers converged, but it also strengthens the timeline, placing the Maya-Teotihuacan connection between AD 300 and 500. More details were officially published in the journal Antiquity on April 8. And if you're a history enthusiast, you'll know that discoveries like this are more than just findings. They are puzzle pieces in the grand story of human civilization. So don't miss out on following updates about this remarkable discovery, because each one brings us closer to completing the extraordinary picture of our shared past. 31,000-year-old skeleton reveals a miraculous prehistoric surgery. In a damp cave layered with ancient soil on the island of Borneo, Indonesia, a skeleton lay undisturbed for 31,000 years, quietly holding a secret that would rewrite what we know about human history. Then, in 2020, when a team of archaeologists from Griffith University, Australia began excavations, they accidentally opened a window into a shocking chapter of the past. This wasn't just the remains of a prehistoric human, but living proof that Stone Age people may have performed a highly skilled amputation, not only successfully, but with a level of precision and medical knowledge that far surpasses anything previously imagined. According to a study published in the journal Nature, the burial site had remained untouched for tens of thousands of years, preserving an incredibly valuable archaeological context. While the individual sex could not be definitively identified, their age at death was estimated to be between 19 and 21 years old. What shook the scientific world was the left leg. It was missing, but not due to injury, predation, or decay. The leg had been intentionally amputated, not crudely, but as part of a complex surgical procedure performed while the individual was likely still a teenager or even younger. If confirmed, this would become the earliest known case of limb amputation in human history. Until now, the oldest known example dated back around 7,000 years, involving a skeleton in France with a surgically removed forearm. The Borneo discovery not only shatters that record by over 20,000 years, but also forces historians and medical scientists to completely reconsider what humans of the Stone Age were capable of. When scientists closely examined the cut bone, they found clear signs of surgical success. There was no evidence of infection, which would almost certainly have led to death without even basic knowledge of hygiene or sterilization. More remarkably, there were signs of new bone growth around the site, proof that the individual survived the amputation for at least 6 to 9 more years. While the rest of the skeleton had matured normally, the amputated leg bone remained at a childlike size, indicating that the surgery had taken place early in life, long before adulthood. This raises a cascade of fascinating questions. How could an ancient community perform such a high-risk operation? How did they stop the bleeding, prevent infection, and care for the patient without medicine, technology, or modern medical knowledge? The answer, researchers believe, lies in early humans' deep connection with nature and practical wisdom. According to their hypothesis, prehistoric surgeons may have used ultra-sharp stone tools, capable of making quick, clean incisions. They likely also relied on local medicinal plants with antiseptic and clotting properties, remedies passed down through generations in forest-based societies. The surgery not only required precise cutting skills, but also an advanced understanding of the circulatory system, blood vessels, muscles, and perhaps even methods for pain relief or sedation, elements that astonish many in the modern medical field. Even more critical was the post-operative care. The wound had likely been cleaned regularly and may have been treated with plant-based antimicrobial substances. This demonstrates not only a rudimentary form of medicine, but also a coordinated community effort to heal and care for the patient, a strong sign of early compassion and social cohesion. This discovery fundamentally reshapes how we view our ancestors. The 1,000-year-old mysterious handprint. Deep within the ancient city of Jerusalem, once the epicenter of countless bloody conflicts, centuries-old chapters of history continue to emerge from beneath the earth. This time, a discovery both eerie and fascinating has stunned the archaeological world. A human handprint carved directly into the stone wall of an ancient moat nearly 33 feet wide, believed to date back to the 10th century, during the height of the city's fierce defenses against invading forces. But what truly captures everyone's curiosity is this: why a handprint? Who left it there? And did it carry a message? This strange imprint was uncovered during a routine survey for a modern infrastructure project when experts from the Israel Antiquities Authority discovered the moat beneath one of today's busy Jerusalem streets. Hewn by hand from solid rock, the moat spans at least 33 feet wide, with a depth ranging between 6.5 to 23 feet. Unlike the water-filled moats commonly seen around European castles, this one was dry, and that in fact gave it a strategic edge. Imagine being an invader, forced to cross rugged terrain with steep, jagged stone walls, all while under a relentless barrage of arrows and projectiles from defenders above. It would feel like walking straight into a death trap. And that was exactly the purpose of this dry moat: to break the momentum of any army bold enough to try and conquer Jerusalem. According to historical records, this formidable structure successfully slowed down some of the most powerful military forces of the medieval period, especially during the siege of Jerusalem in 1099 by the Crusaders. After a grueling journey, these exhausted troops arrived only to find themselves staring into a massive pit of death. It took 5 weeks of continuous assault, countless tactics, and the sacrifice of many lives before the Crusaders finally breached the moat and entered the city. And then, right on the vertical stone wall of that very moat, archaeologists discovered something astonishing: a human handprint, carved in sharp detail, as if someone had deliberately left a message across time. It wasn't a royal emblem nor a religious symbol. It was simply a hand. Bare, silent, and haunting. The sight of it raises endless questions. Was it the mark of a warrior who once defended the city with his life? Or a final message from an invader, proof of their brief but fierce presence in the Holy Land? Could it even have been a bored soldier's prank, never meant to last but now puzzling experts for centuries? Interestingly, archaeologists still don't have a definitive answer. The handprint could have belonged to a Muslim or Jewish soldier, those who valiantly protected Jerusalem across the ages, but it might just as well have been made by a European soldier, part of the brutal Crusades, who journeyed from distant lands to lay claim to the city. Or perhaps it was simply a random act, devoid of deeper meaning. The question remains unanswered, and perhaps that very ambiguity is what makes this discovery so captivating. The Jade Mask of the Maya King. While studying the archaeological site of Xochquitam in Patin, Guatemala, archaeologists made 2 astonishing discoveries, unveiling mysteries never before revealed about the ancient Maya civilization. First, researchers found that tomb robbers had dug a tunnel into the remains of an ancient pyramid, an impressive structure built by the Maya. However, these robbers seem to have overlooked a significant area inside the pyramid chamber. When archaeologists excavated this area themselves, they discovered exquisite treasures, including a finely crafted jade mask, likely belonging to a Maya king. Explorer Francisco Estrada Belli, who led the excavation, shared his emotions upon uncovering these rare artifacts. It was an incredibly thrilling feeling and a privilege. Sometimes we get lucky. This discovery began in 2021 when Estrada Belli and his colleagues used LiDAR surveys to study the Xochquitam area and detected signs of tomb robbery. Interestingly, the robbers had ignored the central chamber inside the pyramid, where archaeologists later found many valuable artifacts, including the jade mask, human skulls, teeth and bone fragments, along with a coffin-like box and other ritual items such as pots and oyster shells. Another significant find was the long carved bones, a distinctive feature in Maya tombs. Archaeologists referred to these as tesserae, jade pieces used to create mosaic masks for royal burials. These masks often depicted gods or ancestors, which drew particular attention from researchers. One of the carved bones showed an image of the buried ruler raising the head of a Maya god, similar to the jade mask. This led to a major question. Who was the royal buried at Xochquitam? By decoding the carvings and hieroglyphs on the bone fragment, experts identified the king's name as Itzam Kokaj Bahlam. He was linked to the Maya storm god Yaxwayab Chak G1, and archaeologists believe he ruled around 350 AD during the classic Maya period, a golden age of the civilization that remains not fully understood. Estrada Belli estimated that Xochquitam was a medium-sized Maya city, with a population of about 10,000 to 15,000 people living within the city and another 10,000 in the surrounding area. Notably, although the tomb of Itzam Kokaj Bahlam indicates he was a powerful figure, archaeologists suspect he may have been a vassal, subordinate to more powerful rulers, such as those of Tikal or Teotihuacan. Currently, archaeologists continue to study the area to uncover further hidden secrets. Estrada Belli and his team hope to extract DNA from the tomb's bones to shed more light on this ruler and the Maya community at Xochquitam. They also plan to keep exploring the tomb robbers' tunnels and map neighboring cities using LiDAR technology. One exciting possibility is that the pyramid contains additional chambers. If so, further excavation could paint a richer picture of ancient Maya life at Xochquitam and provide deeper insight into this mysterious civilization. The 700-year-old tomb of a powerful Ming Dynasty eunuch. In March of this year, Chinese archaeologists announced important details about an ancient tomb excavation that took place from July to December 2023. The excavation was of a Ming Dynasty tomb dating from 1368 to 1644, located in Xinzhou, Shanxi Province, in central China. The tomb features carved flower patterns on its outer doors and contained many valuable artifacts. According to the archaeologists, the epitaph inside the tomb helped identify it as belonging to Wang Luo, a eunuch who governed the city of Xinzhou and is believed to have died in his early 50s. The epitaph also included practical advice for life, such as, "Those who borrow money to become wealthy should not be arrogant. They should change their demeanor and be polite when meeting people of all ages." During the excavation, two well-preserved wooden coffins were discovered. The larger coffin, painted a golden brown color, was decorated with patterns and inscribed with the phrase, "Entrusted by the Ming Dynasty to serve the imperial court as an official within the palace." The smaller coffin featured decorative paintings of flowers, grasses, and peacocks, with colors and details still vivid. The coffin chamber in Wang Luo's tomb contained two intact ceramic storage niches believed to have held grains and oil. In a separate rear chamber of the tomb, archaeologists found wooden furniture intended for burial with the deceased. The tomb's contents included numerous bowls, plates, and various vessels, giving the impression that a meal had been shared there before departure. Other items found in the room included candlesticks, incense burners, pewter pots, cups, bowls, painted wooden statues, and other ritual offerings. One chair in the tomb still bore beautiful golden painted patterns on its backrest. Archaeologists noted that the tomb is well constructed, with many wooden funerary items and sacrificial objects that have been well preserved. These objects are very rare in Xinzhou and even in Shanxi province, and they likely provide valuable information for studying tomb architecture, social life, and burial customs during the Ming dynasty in this region. Historically, eunuchs played an important role in China. They first appeared under the rule of the Han Emperor between 146 and 167 AD during the Han Dynasty, which spanned two periods: the Western Han, 202 BC 9 AD, and the Eastern Han, 25 to 220 AD. Eunuchs often held positions in government and sometimes wielded significant influence over the fate of dynasties. At one point, there were approximately 70,000 eunuchs living within the Forbidden City during the transition from the Ming to the Qing dynasty. However, the eunuch system was finally abolished in 1924 when Puyi, the last emperor of China, left the Forbidden City. The last eunuch, Sun Yaoting, died in 1996. The excavation of the Xinzhou tomb was part of a highway construction project in Shanxi last year. This project also gave archaeologists the opportunity to excavate 66 other tombs, ranging from the Longshan culture period, 3000 to 1900 BC, to the Qing dynasty, 1640 to 1911. Terrifying discovery in a 1,000-year-old princess's tomb forces entire archaeology team to flee. If one day, while digging the ground, you discover a stone wall deep inside a mountain, what would you think it is? A large rock buried for thousands of years? Or perhaps a door leading to a world forgotten since ancient times? Hello everyone. Welcome to Ancient History, where we reveal the most mysterious archaeological secrets of humanity. Today, we will turn back the wheel of history to 1985, to a remote mountainous area in Tongliao City, Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region, China, where a royal tomb over 1,000 years old was accidentally excavated. Back in June of that year, a group of workers was mining stone on Tuerjishan Mountain, Inner Mongolia, when they unexpectedly stumbled upon a strange stone wall. At first, they thought it was just an unusually large bedrock, but as they dug deeper, they discovered the stones were arranged very neatly, accompanied by intricate carvings. Sensing that this was not something naturally formed, the team immediately reported it to the Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region Archaeological Institute. From there, a gateway to the past was opened. Archaeologists arrived and confirmed this was the entrance to a Liao dynasty tomb, a powerful dynasty that existed from 907 to 1125 AD. The tomb was designed as a system consisting of corridors, a main burial chamber, and side chambers, with a total length reaching approximately 54 feet, all clearly proving this was not the resting place of a commoner, but rather possibly someone of noble status, or even a member of the royal family. What stunned the archaeological team even more were the stairs leading deep into the mountain. The final stop was not only a large burial chamber, but a vibrant cultural treasure trove of the Khitan dynasty. From lacquerware, gold and silver, pearls and agate, to crystal, amber, and precious silk, over 3,200 artifacts were found, most of them nearly intact. The most remarkable discovery was a red cypress wooden coffin, intricately carved with vivid phoenix motifs, resting on a brightly painted wooden pedestal. Although time had faded its colors somewhat, the coffin's grandeur still radiated an unmistakable royal aura. When the archaeologists carefully lifted the coffin lid using all their combined strength, everyone fell silent upon seeing two bodies wearing golden masks gradually revealed inside, tightly wrapped in multiple layers of fine silk garments. But the mystery did not end there. A strange white liquid suddenly leaked from the coffin's crevices. Experts immediately recognized it might be pure mercury, a chemical used by the Khitan people to preserve the bodies. The large amount of mercury soaked in the coffin explained why these 1,000-year-old corpses had not decomposed. However, inhaling a high concentration of mercury vapor is extremely toxic and can cause seizures or instant death, so the team had to evacuate the area immediately. Eventually, they decided to transfer the remains to a museum for cleaning and DNA testing. Not only was the precious carved wooden coffin and many valuable burial goods found, but archaeologists also discovered a characteristic epitaph stone typical of royal tombs. Through the epitaph, DNA test results, and historical documents such as the Liao Shi, the official history of the Liao dynasty, archaeologists identified this as the tomb of Princess Liao Chengguo of the Khitan royal family, sister of Emperor Liao Taizu. The princess died at only 18 years old and was buried alongside her husband, who was also her uncle. This was due to royal family marriage customs requiring close kin unions. Historical records do not specify the exact cause of death, only noting it was due to illness. The Liao Shi also praises Princess Chengguo as a virtuous figure, loved by the emperor and the people, and she was granted a magnificent tomb. Both the princess and her husband were buried wearing golden masks carved with the deceased's facial features. Wearing masks for the dead was a special Khitan custom. The golden masks preserved the solemn expressions of the deceased even after facial decomposition. The golden masks and burial artifacts in Princess Chengguo's tomb are the first intact relics recovered from the Liao dynasty. These discoveries have become a historical treasure, filling a gap in knowledge about a once powerful dynasty that had been forgotten. According to experts, a total of 3,227 precious burial items were excavated from Princess Chengguo's tomb. Among them was a glass cup with a gold chain. Initially, archaeologists were both puzzled and excited, as they did not expect a modern glass cup to appear in a 1,000-year-old tomb. Some even suspected it was a relic left behind by grave robbers. However, after thorough inspection, the tomb showed no signs of robbery. It turned out the cup was made from crystal. The crystal cup in the Liao princess's tomb is considered a version of the crystal goblet from the Warring States period, excavated in 1990. This crystal cup was exquisitely crafted with 2 small holes on its rim for attaching the gold chain. What amazed experts even more was that this treasure remained nearly intact after almost 1,000 years underground. Crafting objects from crystal is not easy, yet this cup was made with dimensions similar to modern-day cups, demonstrating that the technology to produce and craft crystal items in the Liao dynasty had reached a high level, showcasing the intelligence and creativity of people of that era. Although experts have yet to discover how this crystal cup was made, its discovery alongside other precious relics in Princess Chengguo's tomb holds significant archaeological value and importance for studying Liao dynasty history. Because of this, the Liao crystal cup was recognized as a national treasure immediately after excavation and is now preserved and exhibited at the Inner Mongolia Museum in China. Upon seeing this treasure in the museum, many people might think time travel is real. As you can see, with over 3,227 precious items and astonishing discoveries about mummy preservation, Princess Chengguo's tomb is not only an archaeological miracle, but also a bridge connecting us with a once-forgotten dynasty. But is she the only princess ever buried with a golden mask and crystal artifacts? Certainly not. Throughout history, China had many princesses elevated during various dynasties, so it's understandable that archaeologists have uncovered numerous similar tombs. If you're curious about other tombs excavated by archaeologists, stay tuned and watch the next part of this video. The tomb of Qin Shi Huang's most beloved princess, unveiling a tragic and chilling fate. Deep beneath the earth in a quiet countryside area of Shangjiao Village, Shandong Province, Chinese archaeologists made a discovery that shook the world of history. They unearthed the remains of a tomb over 2,000 years old, revealing a horrifying truth about a princess once cherished by Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor to unify China and founder of the Qin dynasty. Known as a ruthless tyrant, Qin Shi Huang was said to have deeply adored one of his daughters, Yin Yangman. Though historical records mention little about her, the findings in this ancient tomb paint a vivid and tragic portrait of a royal figure who lived in glory but died in cold blood. The tomb was discovered among a cluster of 7 burial pits, a find that stunned experts not only due to the number, but also because of the eerie similarity in how the bodies were arranged. Even more chilling, as each pit was excavated, the remnants inside turned the air colder than the depths of the earth itself. Bones severed, skulls shattered, and clear evidence of brutal execution methods. The scene resembled an ancient execution ground hidden for millennia. The key to identifying one of the bodies was a jade seal inscribed with the characters Yangxi, found in a tomb more elaborately constructed than the others. Yangxi was the title of Yin Yangman, the princess whom Qin Shi Huang Granted the rare privilege of living outside the palace with her own mansion and hundreds of maids and guards. Combined with the tomb's distinct features, this seal convinced archaeologists they had uncovered the resting place of the beloved daughter of ancient China's greatest emperor. Yet, what haunts is not the tomb's grandeur or its artifacts, but the condition of the remains. Yin Yangman's bones were shattered, with visible marks of blade cuts etched into them. Clearly, she did not die of illness or old age, but was executed in one of the most barbaric methods of the feudal era: dismemberment. Why then did a princess who once lived like a deity meet such a gruesome end? The answer lies in the years following Qin Shi Huang's death. The Qin Empire's throne passed to Hu Hai, the 18th son, who was never meant to inherit but conspired with the eunuch Zhao Gao to forge an edict and force the most capable heir, Fusu, to commit suicide. Once crowned, Hu Hai launched a merciless purge against his own siblings. According to Sima Qian's records of the Grand Historian, 12 of Qin Shi Huang's princes were beheaded in the public market of Xianyang, their blood spilling amid the horror of onlookers. The tragedy didn't end there. 10 princesses, delicate and posing no threat to Hu Hai's throne, were also executed by dismemberment, a method not only meant to kill but to humiliate their royal status, as if to erase the Qin bloodline entirely. Yin Yangman, once a white lotus in the swamp of politics, could not escape this cruel fate. The very favor her father bestowed upon her made her a target for elimination. In a new regime, symbols of the past's glory were seen as threats. Alongside her mangled remains, archaeologists found an unfinished string of ancient beads, a broken ivory comb, and an incomplete golden poetry inscription, likely cherished items she carried to her execution. These artifacts whisper a tale of regret from a life that shone brightly but ended in darkness. The tomb of Yin Yangman is more than an archaeological find. It is a canvas of blood and tears, a testament to the brutality of palace politics. It proves that even the most beloved could not escape the merciless wheel of power. The tragic mystery of the Emperor Kangxi's most beloved princess, tomb desecrated, remains abandoned in the wilderness. In Chinese history, there is no shortage of princesses who lived luxurious lives and were deeply favored, yet many ended their lives in tragic and sorrowful circumstances. One of the most heartbreaking stories is that of Princess He Shen Gu Lun Vin Hian, the princess most beloved by Emperor Kangxi during his glorious 61-year reign. Her story began in the early years of the Kangxi dynasty, when consort Vin, a gentle and virtuous concubine, gave birth to their third daughter. The emperor was overjoyed. After losing 4 previous children, the birth of Princess Vin Hian was nothing short of a divine gift. Cherished like a precious pearl by Kangxi, she grew up in luxury, embodying calmness, wisdom, and filial devotion. The affection her father, the emperor, held for her went far beyond the typical confines of feudal customs. At 18 years old, the princess was married to Oirat Erdani, a talented Mongolian nobleman. This marriage was not only politically significant, but also marked the beginning of truly happy years. They lived in Balan, a vast grassland region north of China. Though distant, she remained devoted to the imperial court, frequently returning to the capital to visit her father. Kangxi himself made special visits to see her, something never done for other princesses. Out of profound respect and love for his daughter, Kangxi broke tradition and granted her the title of Princess Gu Lun, the highest royal princess title, usually reserved only for daughters of the empress. Gu Lun, in Manchu, means under heaven, symbolizing the nation. This not only reflected her status, but also showed that she was a symbol of preciousness in Kangxi's heart. After many years of dedication and upholding the royal family's honor, the princess passed away at the age of 56. She was buried in a magnificent tomb spanning approximately 53,800 square feet in Balanzuoqi, her final resting place beside the beloved husband. Her body was wrapped in imperial robes with a phoenix crown on her head, surrounded by countless royal treasures. Everything clearly showed the deep respect and love that her family, especially Emperor Kangxi, had for her. However, after more than 240 years of peaceful rest underground, her eternal sleep was violently disturbed. In 1972, during a chaotic and politically turbulent period, Her tomb was vandalized by a group of extremists. These ruthless individuals not only looted the treasures but committed a shocking act of inhumanity. They stripped the princess's body of its clothing and threw her remains out into the cemetery, exposed to the harsh wind and scorching sun. According to archaeologists' reports, when the tomb was opened, the princess's body was still nearly intact, a miraculous preservation after more than 2 centuries. Her skin was still soft and her appearance was unaltered, but the brutality and excessive desecration by the tomb raiders caused the body to rapidly decompose upon exposure to the environment. Experts later transported her remains to a medical facility in an attempt to preserve them, but unfortunately, the efforts were unsuccessful and she could never be restored to her original form. The dilapidated tomb of Princess Anlak, the most beloved granddaughter of Empress Wu Zetian. What kind of fate would you expect for a princess? The granddaughter of Wu Zetian and the biological daughter of the emperor. A magnificent tomb deep in the mountains, buried with jewels and treasures? No. What was unearthed in 2008 at Princess Anlak's tomb was nothing more than a small, shabby burial site, even worse than that of an ordinary palace maid. Since then, archaeologists and historians have been asking, what could have caused such a deeply cherished princess to die in such disgrace? The story begins in one of the most powerful families of the Tang dynasty. Anlak was the youngest daughter of Emperor Tang Zhongzong, Li Xian, and Empress Wei, and the granddaughter of Empress Wu Zetian, the first and only woman in Chinese history to claim the throne as emperor. Born at a time when her father was demoted, Anlak's arrival was like a ray of light piercing the darkness surrounding the emperor. From then on, she became a precious jewel, cherished and adored by her parents beyond measure. Growing up under extreme favor, Anlak was soon married to Wu Zongxun, a cousin within the Wu clan. 6 months later, she gave birth to a child. But instead of symbolizing happiness, the child sparked rumors. Had Anlak become pregnant before marriage? And if so, who was the father? At the time, gossip spread widely about the unusually close relationship between Anlak and Wu Yantu, her husband's cousin, a young, talented, handsome man known for his singing and dancing skills. Wu Yantu frequently visited the princess's residence, and soon rumors of an illicit affair began to circulate within the royal palace. However, her husband Wu Zongxun seemed to turn a blind eye. Then, unexpectedly, he suddenly died. His death paved the way for Anlak to officially marry Wu Yantu. The wedding was so extravagant that even Princess Taiping, her famously powerful and strict aunt, attended to give her blessings and dance at the celebration. Because of his love for his daughter, Emperor Tang Zhongzong spared no expense, even relocating residents and demolishing fortifications in Chang'an to build a new residence for the princess. But there was one thing he absolutely refused to grant: the throne. And that was his fatal mistake. Since childhood, Anlak had always gotten what she wanted, except the throne. As Wu Zetian gradually ascended to power, Anlak wondered, if she could do it, why can't I? Her thirst for power grew, no longer limited by etiquette, bloodline, or morality. Refusing to be subdued, Anlak began interfering in state affairs, establishing her own residence, recommending officials, and forming factions. This was no longer a momentary arrogance, but a carefully planned scheme to usurp the throne. Eventually, she and her mother, Empress Wei, decided to act. In June 710, they poisoned Emperor Tang Zhongzong, the father who once loved her more than his own life. Their plan was first to enthrone the emperor's 15-year-old son, Li Chongmao, with Empress Wei as regent. Then Empress Wei, following in Wu Zetian's footsteps, would proclaim herself emperor and appoint Anlak as the Empress Dowager. But just as the two women were consolidating power and celebrating their success, news reached Crown Prince Li Longji and Princess Taiping. Knowing that once Empress Wei became emperor, Prime Minister Li Dan, Li Longji's father and Princess Taiping's brother, would likely become a victim along with them, the two conspired to launch a coup. Li Longji, skilled in both courage and strategy, bribed the imperial guards. He then led his troops straight into the palace. In the end, Anlak was beheaded on the spot, her blood staining the very throne she once dreamed of. According to Tang Dynasty law, the bodies of traitors were to be discarded, stripped of identity, labeled as infamous traitors, demoted to slave status without name or lineage. However, because she still shared the royal bloodline, Li Longji and others reluctantly paid some attention and commissioned a tombstone for Princess Anlak, which was discovered more than 1,000 years later. The epitaph inscribed on the stone listed the princess's grave crimes: arrogance, recklessness, and disdain for the nation. It also stated that her husband Wu Yantu, Wei Wen, and their accomplices secretly established a dangerous clan-based social order and plotted murder, deserving elimination. The charge of poisoning the emperor was confirmed. Princess Anlak incited the people, poisoned the emperor, endangered the stability of the realm, and met a tragic death. It is said that ordinary women only crave wealth and honor, but from the case of Princess Anlak, excessive luxury bred their cruelty. Desire can never be satisfied, and many ancient stories warn of the brutal struggles for power. The story of Princess Anlak chills the spine. Could it be that sometimes those most loved and entrusted with power become the greatest threat to the throne? Could unrestrained desire bring a princess from the pinnacle of nobility down to the depths of disgrace? More than 1,300 years have passed, but that dilapidated tomb, along with the carved accusations etched in stone, still whisper the tragic tale of a princess who refused to be just a princess, but only wanted to be emperor. Truly blameworthy, yet also truly pitiful, my friends. Discovery of a living person inside the coffin in Princess Fuxthan's tomb. In November 2019, while a team of archaeologists was restoring an ancient site in Nanjing, China, no one expected what they were about to witness would far exceed all imagination. The heavy stone door of Princess Fuxthan's tomb, the beloved daughter of Ming Dynasty's founding emperor Zhu Yuanzhang, gradually opened after centuries of being sealed shut. But instead of facing skeletal remains or precious artifacts as anticipated, what stunned them was a living man lying directly above the princess's coffin. You heard that right. A living person was found inside the very burial chamber of a Ming Dynasty princess. In that moment, the entire archaeological team was speechless. It took several minutes for them to gather courage to approach. The man appeared confused and panicked at being discovered. Around him were clothes, blankets, pillows, and personal belongings. Clearly, this place had become a long-term residence. Immediately, questions arose. How could an ordinary person gain access to a strictly protected ancient tomb? And why was he lying right above the coffin of a royal family member? The answer revealed was heartbreaking. The man was a poor laborer working at a construction site near Andy Mountain. Unable to afford housing, he secretly moved into the abandoned and poorly guarded historic site for shelter. Warm in winter, cool in summer, a perfect refuge if one disregards spiritual and legal concerns. But the story did not end there. During further investigations, experts discovered not just one person, but as many as 20 to 30 individuals living within the system of Princess Fuxthan's tomb. They were impoverished migrant workers living hidden lives within the heart of history. By day, they worked like everyone else. At night, they quietly returned to the ancient tomb to rest. Beneath the earth, amidst ancient brick walls and thousand-year-old vaulted ceilings, modern people live layered over history. A shocking reality not only for archaeologists, but for society at large. So, who was the woman resting beneath the coffin? And why was her tomb occupied in such a way? Princess Fuxthan, a name seemingly forgotten by history, was once a remarkable figure in the Ming Dynasty. As the daughter of founding Emperor Zhu Yuanzhang, she stood out among 16 princesses for her beauty, talent, and rare intelligence. Unlike many women of the feudal era, Fuxthan was skilled in music, poetry, and painting, and was even permitted by her father to participate in court discussions. Historical records describe Fuxthan as dignified and cautious in speech and conduct. She had repeatedly offered political insights highly praised by Zhu Yuanzhang. But at just 47 years old, the princess suddenly passed away, leaving much sorrow within the royal family. She was buried in an imposing tomb atop Anda Mountain, featuring a two-room stone-vaulted design, reflecting her high status and the deep mourning of the emperor for his daughter. After centuries, the tomb fell into oblivion until its rediscovery and excavation in 1998. It was assumed the site would be strictly preserved, but the reality was the opposite. Due to insufficient resources for supervision, the tomb became a cheap housing option for the destitute. They lived among dragon and phoenix carvings on stone floors once trod by royal carriages. When persuaded to leave the tomb, many expressed regret, saying, "Living here is peaceful, winters are not cold, summers not hot. Only sometimes strange noises can be heard at night." No one could say for sure what those noises were. Wind whistling through stone corridors, echoes of footsteps from the past, or warnings from a sacred place that had been violated? This incident forced local authorities to strengthen protection, restrict access, and plan for stricter conservation. But it also raised a bigger question. How many other ancient tombs across China are in similar situations, becoming temporary homes for people driven to the edge by life's hardships? History, once forgotten, finds a way to speak. This time, its voice came unexpectedly. A living person in the world of the dead. As a reminder, never underestimate the past, for sometimes it is still watching us every day. What about you? What do you think about this story? What archaeologists discovered inside this warring state's tomb shocked the world. In the world of ancient mysteries, some tombs do more than just conceal skeletal remains. They harbor chilling stories and forgotten powers. And in a recent excavation in Anyang, Henan Province, China, archaeologists unlocked a haunting gateway into the past. To begin today's video, I'll take you deep into a burial ground that has slumbered undisturbed for over 3,000 years. A place that once bore witness to blood-soaked funerary rituals and the raw authority of the ancient Shang dynasty. Here's the story. At the excavation site, a team of experts discovered 24 ancient tombs, all dating back 3 millennia. But what truly sent shivers through the archaeological community were the skeletal remains of soldiers found in several of these tombs. They weren't just ordinary corpses. According to analysis, these individuals may have been buried alive during funerary ceremonies, a brutal but common practice under the Shang dynasty. Back then, the death of a powerful figure was never the end. It marked the beginning of a terrifying sacrificial ritual. The ancients believed that those in power would need servants in the afterlife, and so humans became living offerings, buried alongside their masters to continue their service beyond death. This is no myth or legend, it's a cold reality, reconstructed from fragments of bone and surviving archaeological evidence. And it wasn't just people. 4 horse-drawn chariot pits were also unearthed at the site, along with remarkably well-preserved artifacts, from jade and stone items to bronze pieces inscribed with ancient characters. Among these inscriptions, the symbol CA appeared repeatedly, suggesting a once powerful clan that dominated this region. Kong Deming, director of the Chinese Academy of Archaeology, confirmed, "We found numerous oracle bone inscriptions bearing the name of the CA clan. The recurring presence of this clan symbol on the relics indicates that this was once a major power in the Anyang area." Now, if you're unfamiliar with oracle bone script, let me explain. It's the oldest known form of Chinese writing, carved into animal bones or turtle shells, used primarily for divination ceremonies. Their presence at this burial site not only helps date the tombs, but also provides direct evidence of the spiritual and political life during the Shang dynasty. But not all of these tombs remain intact. One of the largest showed clear signs of grave robbery. Shattered pottery was scattered across the ground, and several valuable relics were improperly buried, as if looters had ransacked every corner in search of treasure left by the ancestors. Yet, even what was left behind was enough to stun the experts. Some skeletons were ornately adorned, indicating that these individuals were far from ordinary. One set of remains wore a headdress made from strings of rare seashells, while the skulls of horses were decorated with gold, a metal reserved only for the nobility. These details paint a vivid picture. This was no commoner's cemetery. It was the final resting place of the ruling elite, those who once stood at the pinnacle of power and took both their splendor and their shadows with them into the earth. Each artifact, each burial pit, each fragment of bone, they all whisper to us of a chapter in history buried by time. But here's the truly remarkable part. These discoveries are only the beginning. The excavation at Anyang is still ongoing, and archaeologists believe that this cemetery may be just the tip of a much larger funerary complex. So the question remains, what else will be uncovered in the days to come? Could we eventually discover the main tomb of the Ce clan? Or perhaps even more gruesome evidence of larger, deeper sacrificial rituals hidden in the annals of history? These are questions that may take time to answer. But tell me, do you think this is the only discovery that has shocked archaeologists? If so, you might want to think again, because throughout both the past and the present, archaeologists have made countless stunning and even slightly shocking discoveries. So beyond this ancient tomb, what else have they found? Stay with me until the end of this video, and let's uncover them together. An ancient Maya city hidden in the jungles of Mexico. Have you ever imagined that deep within the dense, wild jungles of southern Mexico lies a lost ancient city, once a thriving center of a brilliant civilization thousands of years ago? Recently, archaeologists made a groundbreaking discovery, a previously unknown Maya city, and the find is shaking the global archaeological community. This newly uncovered city is called Ocamtun, meaning stone column in the Yucatec Maya language, a simple name that hints at a place once rich in rituals, power, and monumental architecture. Believed to have played a vital role between AD 250 and 1000, Ocamtun was not just any urban settlement. It may have been one of the largest and most influential hubs in the entire Maya region. The ancient city was found deep in the rainforest, sitting on high ground surrounded by sprawling wetlands, nearly completely isolated from the outside world for centuries. When archaeologists entered Ocamtun's central area, they were overwhelmed by what stood before them. Massive pyramid-like structures, some rising nearly 50 feet, 3 large plazas with monumental buildings arranged in near concentric circles, a layout that not only required advanced engineering, but also reflected the highly organized social and political systems of the ancient Maya. The stone columns, true to the city's name, stood tall like timeless sentinels, telling stories that had been forgotten for millennia. And there's more. Archaeologists also uncovered an ancient ball court, a sacred arena where legendary Maya ball games once took place. This game wasn't merely sport, it was a cosmic ritual. The rubber ball symbolized the sun, and players had to pass it through a narrow stone hoop without using their hands. The game mirrored planetary movements, deeply tied to Maya religious beliefs and their astonishing knowledge of astronomy. Near the La Reguena River, researchers also discovered central altars believed to have been used for public rituals and community ceremonies. While more research is needed to fully understand the cultures that once lived here, it's clear that Ocamtun was once the sacred heart of a spiritually and intellectually advanced society. Dr. Ivan Sprike, the lead archaeologist on the team, believes the city's refined layout and choice of materials point to a highly organized society where political power and religion were tightly interwoven into everyday life. But like so many once glorious civilizations, Ocamtun eventually fell into decline. Based on construction materials and architectural evidence, scientists estimate the city began to deteriorate between AD 800 and 1000, a time of widespread crisis across the Maya world. Shifts in ideology, population pressures, and environmental changes may have forced the people to abandon Ocamtun, leaving behind magnificent structures to be swallowed by vines and moss over the centuries. By the time the Spanish arrived in the late 1600s, the remnants of the Maya civilization had been reduced to weakened outposts, which eventually succumbed to the power of Western military campaigns. Today, the discovery of Ocamtun not only opens a new chapter in the understanding of Maya history, but also serves as a powerful reminder of the rise and fall of civilizations that once reached astonishing heights. In an age where science and technology allow us to uncover Earth's deepest secrets, cities like Ocamtun stand as living testaments to human brilliance, ambition, and the timeless lessons of history that modern society must never forget. The 16-feet-tall giant skeleton discovered in Malaysia. On December 17, 2016, Malaysian historian Maud Fuad Kusari M. said revealed a shocking discovery on Pulau Upe Island, located off the coast of Malacca State, Malaysia. While searching for archaeological remains under the authority of the Malacca state government, he uncovered a set of human remains significantly larger than those of an average person, found inside a cave. The exposed bone fragments led him to believe that the skeleton belonged to a person estimated to have stood between 10 to 16 feet tall. This discovery could serve as potential evidence supporting long-standing legends about giants once living in Malacca, particularly during the era of the Malay Kingdom. Historian Fuad stated that the size of the skull and other bones indicated that this individual possessed an exceptionally large physique. Furthermore, the dimensions of the skeleton appeared to align with the size of several giant graves, such as the tomb of King Arifin and the 7 warrior brothers located on Pulau Besar in the neighboring state of Johor, Malaysia. However, these burial sites have not yet been excavated, leaving the tale of giants in the region a mystery still waiting to be solved. In addition to the skeletal remains, Mr. Mohd Fuad also discovered 2 unusual graves located about 0.75 miles from the cave. These graves each measured around 16.4 feet long and 1.6 feet wide, spaced approximately 65 feet apart. However, instead of excavating them, he chose to report the findings to the proper authorities. Previously, Malaysia had also recorded several giant-sized graves on Pulau Besar, believed to be the resting places of religious leaders from Yemen, India, and Java. These graves were also far larger than typical burial sites, possibly because the individuals interred were of extraordinary physical stature, or perhaps because they were laid to rest in oversized graves to honor their contributions to the spread of Islam. This new discovery at Pulau Upe raises fascinating questions about the possible existence of giant humans in ancient history. It also promises to offer valuable insights for ongoing historical and archaeological research in Malaysia. There's a real possibility that, in the near future, scholars may achieve major breakthroughs in proving the existence of a race of giants, a chapter of history that has long remained buried beneath myth and legend. The mysterious skull inside the hollow. Which elm tree? Countless paintings, photographs, novels, and even songs have been inspired by the legendary case of Who Put Bella in the Witch Elm. Yet, to this day, the victim's identity remains cloaked in mystery. Who Put Bella in the Witch Elm is also the title of a hauntingly somber track by the British musician Gravenhurst. Though the song itself is relatively obscure, its name stems from one of the most infamous murder cases in Birmingham's history, a mystery that has gripped the local imagination for 82 years and continues to puzzle investigators who have never been able to identify the woman found. The story began in 1943, when a young boy named Bob Farmer and a few friends were climbing an old wych elm tree on the abandoned Cobham estate. Unknowingly, these carefree children were about to uncover a mystery that would stretch across decades. Inside the dead, hollowed-out tree, they found a human skull, still with a few teeth and a clump of hair. Terrified, the boys agreed to put it back and never speak of it again. But one of them, Tommy Whitles, eventually broke down and told his parents. The police were quickly called in. Upon investigation, they discovered the rest of the skeleton, consisting of whitened bones covered by scraps of decayed clothing. One hand still bore a gold wedding ring, while the other hand was missing entirely. All of it had been stuffed inside the rotting trunk of the wych elm tree. Forensic analysis indicated that the woman was likely around 35 years old, had given birth at least once, and died from asphyxiation. She had likely been placed inside the tree while still alive, a chilling possibility that left investigators and the public horrified. Later, the missing right hand was found buried nearby. A piece of taffeta fabric was also discovered inside the victim's mouth. No further identifying information was ever recovered, not even a name. Then, during Christmas of that same year, Birmingham residents were startled by an eerie message scrawled in chalk across city streets. Who put Bella in the wych elm? It read like a haunting question, or perhaps an accusation. Similar graffiti began appearing all over town. The police chose not to comment publicly, but quietly continued their investigation. Some believed the writer of these cryptic messages knew the victim's identity, and thus, the body in the hollow tree came to be known simply as Bella. This led to speculation linking her to a missing sex worker in Birmingham who vanished in 1941, a timeline that closely matched the estimated date of death. However, due to a lack of evidence, authorities were never able to confirm whether the two women were the same person. Then, in 1953, the small community was rocked once again, exactly 10 years after Bella's body was discovered. a woman named Una Mossop came forward, claiming her cousin Jack Mossop had confessed to placing a woman inside the tree, along with a Dutch man named Van Ralt, while the two were drunk. However, this claim was dismissed, as Jack Mossop had been institutionalized and had died several years before Una's report. From that point forward, the case of Bella in the Witch Elm became a local legend, filled with all the elements of a gothic horror story. A forgotten, mist-covered woodland, a skeletal corpse resting silently inside a tree for 18 months, and a missing hand, possibly linked to occult rituals. Some even speculated that Bella was really Clara Bauerle, a Nazi spy who disappeared in Britain during the darkest days of the war. Then, in 2016, the eerie messages, "Who put Bella in the Witch Elm?" began to appear again, rekindling the public's fascination and fear. Now 82 years old, this mystery has outlived the woman herself, had she survived that fateful day. Though the investigation has long since gone cold, many still hope that Bella's true identity will someday be uncovered, offering closure and justice for a soul long lost in the shadows of history. Graveyard of giant wombats discovered. Scientists have recently made yet another fascinating discovery with the announcement of the largest known graveyard of Diprotodons, a species of giant wombat that went extinct around 50,000 years ago. This massive fossil site is located in the state of Queensland, Australia, and contains the remains of at least 20 individual Diprotodons. Among them, the most prominent find is the remarkably preserved skeleton of a giant wombat nicknamed Kenny. Kenny is one of the most complete Diprotodon fossil specimens ever found. Its jawbone alone measures about 27.5 inches, highlighting the sheer size and strength of this incredible prehistoric creature. For those unfamiliar, Diprotodons were the largest marsupial species to ever walk the earth. These giants could weigh up to 6,200 pounds, roughly equivalent to a modern rhinoceros. They roamed the Australian continent between 2 million and 50,000 years ago, grazing on grass and low-lying vegetation. Despite their massive build, they were herbivores and played a significant role in their ecosystems. However, Diprotodons gradually went extinct, most likely due to a combination of climate change and the arrival of modern humans. The discovery of this graveyard is helping scientists better understand how and why this megafauna disappeared. Dr. Scott Hocknull, lead excavator and a researcher at the Queensland Museum, shared that his team plans to reconstruct the environmental conditions these creatures once lived in. By studying the fossil remains at this burial site, researchers hope to uncover clues about the changes in the Diprotodon's ecosystem, especially the factors that may have led to their extinction. Scientists suspect that climate shifts played a major role, potentially altering the landscape too quickly for these giant animals to adapt. Alongside these natural changes, the emergence of early humans, with their advanced hunting skills and resource exploitation, could have accelerated the loss of habitat and food sources, pushing Diprotodons and other megafauna toward extinction. If this theory proves correct, the discovery of the Diprotodon graveyard could be a major step forward in solving one of prehistoric nature's greatest mysteries, the extinction of large Ice Age animals. The site offers not only a wealth of information about a long-lost species, but also valuable insights into how human activity and climate change have historically impacted animal populations. Ultimately, this discovery serves as an important reminder. By studying the past, we can draw critical lessons for the conservation of modern wildlife and ecosystems, ensuring we don't repeat the mistakes that led to the disappearance of giants like the Diprotodon. 8. Mysterious mummies in a cave and the unsolved secrets they left behind. In 1991, during an exploration of a mysterious cave called Asi al-Hadath in Lebanon, archaeologists uncovered a remarkable set of medieval-era mummies. This was an extraordinary find, and researchers believe the burials date back to around 1283 AD. The mummies are believed to have belonged to the Maronites, an ancient religious community native to Lebanon. What makes this discovery even more exceptional is the fact that these may be the first, and possibly the only, mummies ever found in Lebanon. Located in the Hadath el-Gibbet region, the Asi al-Hadath cave seems to have once been an ideal place for habitation. Near the cave is a man-made water reservoir which would have supported settlement and daily life. Additionally, the cave has two large chambers that may have served as living spaces for ancient residents. Unlike the famous Egyptian mummies, the remains found in this cave were naturally preserved, giving them the appearance of simply being asleep, astonishingly lifelike. The preservation state of the bodies is truly extraordinary. Archaeologists suggest that the cave's low humidity and the absence of organisms that typically cause decomposition helped facilitate this natural mummification process. The most striking story from this discovery is the mummy of a baby girl, estimated to be just 4 months old, who has been given the name Yasmin. She was carefully buried, dressed in beautiful clothing, including 3 dresses in shades of blue and beige, along with glass bead earrings and necklaces, precious jewelry likely given to her by her mother. Near her remains were items such as laurel leaves, almonds, walnuts, garlic skins, and onions, all of which suggest unique burial customs practiced by the Maronite community at that time. In addition to Yasmin, 7 other mummified bodies were found in the same area, 4 children and 3 adults. This has deepened researchers' curiosity about the lives and deaths of these individuals. Upon close examination, scientists confirmed that the mummification occurred naturally, not through human intervention. Artifacts found nearby were equally impressive, including finely woven textiles and wooden arrowheads typical of the medieval period. This raises a major question. Why did all of these individuals die together in this cave? And how exactly did they die? Researchers suggest that the Crusades, which were occurring during that time, might provide a clue. The city of Tripoli, not far from the cave, was under siege during that era. Many believe that these Maronites may have fled into the cave to escape invading armies, only to fall victim to some deadly disaster. However, this remains just a theory. The exact cause of death for these people is still one of history's unsolved mysteries. The mummies and artifacts found in Asi al-Hadath cave stand as a vivid testament to a long-lost chapter of history, a mysterious tale of life and death among the ancient Maronites. Though the full story may never be uncovered, the discovery has already shed light on the lifestyle, beliefs, and cultural practices of this medieval community. It's considered one of the most significant archaeological finds in Lebanese history. As you can see, the ancient world never fails to surprise us. From ancient ruins and tombs to perfectly preserved skeletons, everything about it makes us stop and wonder, how much do we really know about our past? So among today's discoveries, which one impressed you the most? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another fascinating discovery. Until next time, goodbye, and see you in the next adventure.